Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chris Hillman, Dank, Dave Rakia Gaffer, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Dick Earth Skeptic, Edwin Johnson, Owen Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, Godrockin, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life Is Short, Maria Neelands, Missouri Bear, NA Literalist, Nathan Thompson, Nyby, Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by several people in G Plus and Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
At least acknowledge something.
They are acknowledging something.
No, they aren't.
I know.
They're still asserting.
You're looking for a result, right?
No, I'm looking for them when they're getting smacked with the evidence to at least acknowledge something, not continue to
Right.
claim
So you're
their
looking for a
nonsense.
result.
Like Bev and Rumpus. That's frustrating.
Not genuine people.
So hang on. So you're looking for a result from the back and forth with Bev and Rumpus. And the result you're looking for is for Rumpus to acknowledge something that Bev said that's objectively true and undeniable, but Rumpus skirts away and comes up with a different meaning for it, correct?
I don't know what I'm looking for.
You crack me up, Bill. Who was the other person talking?
Very low, whoever it is.
Yeah, he said something. I couldn't make it out.
Neil, don't hold your breath.
Oh yeah, I won't hold my breath.
Well said.
It's the next step depression if they concede something like that. So they're only here because they don't want what we say to be correct. So therefore, being here is to challenge what we're saying, and they're not here so that they can be convinced that we're right. They're here to convince us that we're wrong, or moreover, convince themselves that they are right. So they're not here to concede. They're not here to find themselves in a position where they've been proven wrong. They're here to affirm their own belief that they're on a globe. So when they come to something that doesn't do that, they don't know what to do. They're certainly not going to concede because, as I say, next step depression.
When they start saying straight lines are bent, you know the debate is over.
Yeah.
Like
right
I give you,
there.
for instance, after everything Nathan went through with Zanuck yesterday, he continued in the after show claiming that Nathan doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right. That's what Nathan's saying. They're not here to concede anything, even if proven wrong.
When
the
Chucky
best
was
we
going
can
on dropping a ball, and I put a video in on dropping a ball 150 foot and not 1 inch of deviation, he soon changed it then to, in a vacuum.
Yeah, I've seen them do that, or immediately they change the control variables of what they said.
But I want to know,
Like
have they ever done it in a vacuum?
Where's there a 150-foot tall vacuum, for God's sake? Apart from which, we don't live in a vacuum.
Exactly.
Well, the same could be said true of Andrew Thomas Young saying that all his calculations was done on the plane because that's the only place he can do it. But he has to change it to make it match a sphere. Now, it's right there written by him, the guy that they cite. So you have to take geometric considerations and change it to wrap it on the ball. But he tells you right out the bat that all the calculations for refraction, I'll say it a different way, were not done on the sphere, but on the plane. Well, you're on Earth and you do refraction studies, and Earth is a sphere, you could say legitimately all your calculations for refraction were done on the sphere. But he doesn't say that. He says it was done on a plane, which means he did it here on Earth, and Earth is a plane. It's so simple. It's right there. No more talk is needed.
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical about observations now because they've always got this rebuttal of deviation of light and all that. So I just use their own rhetoric now against them.
Which is?
Well, Coventry Airport, they say is 71 metres above sea level, and that's the tower. I rang the tower. 267 feet above sea level. It's 100 miles to the sea, east or west. That's the nearest seas. 100 miles is 66,000 feet, 6,600 feet of curvature.
Right. I did a video on this. It was based around the rail network for the same exact reasons in terms of height above sea level. So here I think I'm 250. But there's a marked point. So the centre of England is marked literally 200 yards from where I live. There's this oak tree that marks the centre point. And you couldn't get further from the coast.
Like Birmingham Airport, they say they're 100 metres, which is
exactly. Right, they're right in the middle. Well, pretty much, So where's all this drop? And this is backed by Google Earth. So when we pointed this out, they're like, ha ha ha. It's like, well, you say you've got drop. If there's drop, there's drop. No one's dropping. I'm still the same level versus sea level. I'm, gone a couple of 100 metres up. That's it.
There is curve, like they say, there is at 8 inches per mile squared. 100 miles, their rhetoric is 6,666 feet of curvature, which can only curve down from our position, can't it? So Coventry Airport should be at least 6,600 feet above sea level.
Right. No, they're only basing it on an assumption that flat means curved. So that flat distance between you and sea, that's curved, that is.
How ludicrous is that? They're deluded. They've got to be deluded.
We all were. None of us recognised this 4 years ago, right? 5 years ago, maybe.
Anybody with 2 or 3 brain cells, can put this together and realise that we've all been lied to. But them, allegedly highly educated people, can't see it.
Yeah, that's why they told you in, what is your first and second grade? Because that's when you're cementing your worldview and your paradigm about what the world really is.
Well, Nathan, you've heard Chocolate's story and mine about how we never bought this, but who was debating it back then? So we kind of tucked it somewhere in our psyche or whatever, however that works. And just yesterday, I was contemplating my life and this subject matter in my life, and I'm 61. I can't even count the times. It's been so many that I used to say, and still do. I don't. They say we're spinning. I don't feel spin. Now, I said that before the flat Earth debate show and all this stuff becomes relevant, and we're on daily and we debate it. If there was a forum to debate these things, like if you went to school and the teacher said, "Look, it's either flat or it's a ball. We're going to look at it both ways, and we'll let you decide based on the evidence that is gathered." That would have been great. We would have had a podium, something to hang our hat on. But we never had that. So we just said, "Nah, I don't think so." And then we tucked it somewhere. And we go on with life, right?
But it's akin to your religious education saying, okay, well, the Christian thing's all very well and good, but let's see if Buddhism is better. Let's debate Christianity versus Buddhism. Now, you're not going to get that, are you? I'm sure there are. I know there are debates, but what I'm saying is, when you're in an educational setting, it's comprehensive education. They just want you to comprehend it. That's it. Yes. They don't need you to debate it. They don't need to question it. They just need you to comprehend it.
Exactly. And my Christianity grew in leaps and bounds when I had a debate with Muslims and Jews and Buddhists and Taoists, and I couldn't believe what happened to me when I actually became a Christian. I ended up talking to people of different faiths and going to the Bible and seeing how they read the Bible versus what the Bible was just saying to me when I read it. And we can read the same passage and come up with all these different things. I said, well, how do you get that from that? It doesn't say that. And so I like debates on matters that are important because, if anything, it grounds you and it makes you know why you believe what you believe and why you accept what you accept. We need more of it.
I agree. That said, when I started the show, I didn't need any more affirmation that the world was obviously and observably flat. I knew it.
No, I know, but now, because your knowledge has arrived to a fullness, say on that subject of flat Earth, you started the show because you saw 99% of the Western world doesn't.
And there are some interesting changes that have made in terms of my everyday discussions on this. So a neighbour brought the subject up to my wife, and she mentioned the discussion that my wife had with her, and the viewpoint of Joe Normie neighbour was that you could see the curve of the Earth from a commercial airliner. Now, instinctively, I launched into telling my wife, well, no, their rhetoric doesn't say that. Their rhetoric certainly doesn't go along with the idea that you can see the curve of the Earth from a commercial airliner, And previously, I'd have launched into explaining how I yearned to see the curve of the Earth as I was a rep travelling around all day, every day on commercial airliners. And I knew damn well you couldn't see it, and I wanted to go higher to see it. Now, however, I wouldn't say that. I'd nod and say, oh, you think the horizon's the edge of a sphere? That's interesting. And hope the conversation progressed from there. In other words, I wouldn't necessarily challenge them at all. I'd just sort of nod along. Knowing smugly, if you like, if you want to think it's smug, that the horizon's not a physical edge. It's not a geometric ball edge horizon. It's not physical. And I know that. That's a fact. Now, at a base level, I think everyone knows that. But their religion says otherwise, so that's what they'll state. And they're looking for affirmation, and they find it out of a plane window. When they do, they go, there we go. Confirmation bias achieved. There's the curve. Through my curved window. Even though when I turn around and look out the other window, it hasn't continued to curve round. It's exactly the same level. But that aside, the horizon's not a physical sphere edge. That's been debunked here. So no longer will we argue about what the horizon might or might not be doing. Both sides used to assume it was physical. Will it bend? Does it bend? How much does it bend? What's it blocking? How much is it blocking? All of these assumptions of physical sphere edges they've gone by the wayside. They died at the beginning of 2020. That's the end of geometry as an assertion of a proof of globe Earth. They don't have an R value. They don't have a geometric horizon. That's the end. That's got nothing to do with seeing curves through windows. That's normie belief that doesn't even tie in with their own religion. Yeah, just
Well,
goes to
as
show debate does change the way you view things, not necessarily whether or not it's flat. That's a done deal.
the person in Discord who has been communicating with us, I don't know his name, but he had a strong point. And he said, when you say straight is curved, it's over right there. And it is. And here's why. We talk about semantics and language and words, right? And so the whole point is words mean things. Now, if the one word can mean 20 different things, then we need to isolate it to a context. But if the one word only means one thing, it actually is the context, if you know what I'm saying. So
If it means more than
when
one
you
thing
say,
in one context, it's an equivocation fallacy.
well, let me say, for example, because of languages, and I don't mind being patient and saying, give me a context for that word the way you're using it. I don't mind that discussion because I want the back and forth. So if someone uses the word as an example, it just popped into my head now, ball. Well, ball can mean a dance. It can mean a football, a basketball, a baseball, a golf ball. I need context. That's all I'm saying. So let me now cross-reference that to what our friend in Discord said. When you say straight is curved, that's a like red flag. No one, that's so contrary. Curved is not straight, and straight is not curved, and everybody knows that.
The law of identity violation.
Yes, that's a good one right there. So you can't have a conversation when someone is not going to apply objectivity to straight and to curved, but thinks they could take it and make their own reality out of it and change the meaning of the word. It's not going to happen, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, A cannot be not A and A at the same time.
Yep.
The law of identity.
Law of non-contradiction.
Law of non-contradiction as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say straight lines means that they're not bent, but also bent lines can be straight. Well, no, they can't. That's the antithesis of straight. Yes, they can, and I'm going to tell you how. Because my globe has bent the straight and flat plane we live on into a curved surface. Therefore, straight is curved.
Well, this is where logic is very important. What is logic based on? The language changes. You can't have long. If the meaning of words changes, logic is impossible.
You say, what does logic think about?
No, I said based on. If you change the meaning of words, how can you say a logical statement?
Talking about the Socratic method now.
I'm just talking about logic.
Yeah, coming to a conclusion about what a word means when you're in discussion is the Socratic method. So you establish a word with its meaning, because if you and someone else, you're discussing something, exactly this, what's happening or what's being discussed between Bev and Rumpus is exactly that. You're in a process of the Socratic method of establishing what a word means, but one party simply doesn't abide by that. No, I'm going to violate the law of non-contradiction or the law of identity, or I'm going to use an equivocation fallacy, whichever one you want to choose or whichever one they're doing in whichever instance. It's just not abiding by the Socratic method and establishing what a word actually means and then sticking by it. No, straight doesn't mean curved. Yeah, it does. Oh, God. No, let's establish what straight means. Here's the definition. No, that definition's wrong. No. And so you go on. But if your religion's being violated by a mere definition of a word, you're going to disagree with it, and that's what's happening.
Yes.
When buying a piece of timber, you look down it and it is either straight or it's bent.
Oh, how many times have I and chocolate used that analogy?
Right, same goes for a pool cue or whatever else. But yeah, straight's not bent. Straight's not curved.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I used to have a pool table, and we had a bunch of pool cues, and people would bring their own pool cues because they're used to their own, and some guy would need one. So I said, well, look, before you pick one, put it on the table and roll it on the table and pick the straightest one. I mean, it's so obvious. There are a few that couldn't be used at all.
But as I say, they're not here to move on. They haven't gone through the anger stage and the denial stage and then the bargaining stage because they want to go to depression. They're bargaining because they want their religion to stay alive. Not because they want it to die on the table and accept it and move on to depression and loss and mourning their religion that they don't have anymore. That isn't the direction they want to travel when they come here. So conceding, this is more for Neil than anybody else. Conceding, that's not what they're here for.
That's why we all agree with you when you say this is the front lines.
It's like the narrative of, did I say to Zanuck, if a plane's heading north at 500 miles an hour, is it going 1,000 miles an hour sideways as well?
No.
And he sort of said, well, yeah, it could. I said, what if it turns around and starts heading north? Has that momentum changed?
Oh, it's ludicrous. You're absolutely right. You got your questions, got him. But if you listen to your original question, right, if you just ask that to a man on the street, not that you ever would, but if you just ask that to average Joe, he'd say your question's malformed. If a plane's travelling north at 500 miles an hour, is it also moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour? Assuming that it's moved from the equator. Well, if you say that, I've popped in the caveat that frames it slightly nicer in the heliocentric model, doesn't it? When I say moving from the equator, people will suddenly have an affirmation of what I'm describing and why I'm describing it when I put the caveat in. But the way you phrased it, it's like, no, you just explain that it's going 500 miles an hour. If it was going 1,000 miles an hour, you just say if it's going 1,000 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's a malformed question. Why would something that's travelling in one direction at 500 miles an hour simultaneously be moving in another direction at 1,000 miles an hour? Well, it wouldn't be. Why would you ask if you've got this fictitious 1,000 miles an hour that nobody's observing? Nobody's observing it. But it's part of the religion, though. It needs to be assumed at some point. Come on. That's the kind of nonsense we get here.
That's why the Earth is obviously and observably flat and motionless, stationary, is a great statement that you say all the time, because that's what everybody experiences. And like you said, to make it part of the religion, you got to say it's actually rotating at these various speeds depending where you're at. But no one experiences it.
Well, on the same thought, if it's not travelling 1,000 miles an hour sideways, then if it flies up and over the North Pole and lands 12 hours later on the other side of the globe, wouldn't it land where it took off?
What, because as it's been travelling, it's had the Earth spinning underneath? Well, that would generate a Coriolis deviation from the ground. So you'd look at that plane you're describing and see it curving because the Earth's turning underneath. And what you're saying is if it travels for that period of time, the Earth's turned a full duration and therefore, or half duration, and therefore it's come back on itself if it's travelling over the top of it.
It would have to land back where it took off.
Yeah, if the Earth was turning underneath, as they claim it does. But then you'd have shortened flight times travelling west, because the Earth would be turning underneath as you travel towards your destination in the west. So we don't experience any of these effects. They're called Coriolis deviation if you're observing it from the ground and not actual force, a seeming deviation as you observe something on a spinning platform. The Earth's claimed to be said spinning platform, but we don't observe anything like that. And planes haven't got shortened flight times because people on the ground are observing things seem to deviate in the air because they're not attached to a spinning reference frame. So nobody's observing any Coriolis deviation, and if they were, it would shorten flight times.
All you get of him is you don't understand.
Oh, but I do. Not that I want to understand Coriolis, I couldn't care less. Literally, I didn't leave school thinking, God, if only I'd learnt more about the Coriolis effect and how it's a not actual deviation, or what a non-inertial spinning reference frame actually means in terms of why it's non-inertial, or why an inertial frame can have something not moving in it, Why do I need any of this garbage? I don't care. I don't want to know about Coriolis effect. It's not interesting. Other than the fact that fundies come here and double talk us and claim that they're proving Earth spins when they're looking at a bloody hurricane from a claimed non-inertial spinning reference frame, watching something with an actual spin direction, like that's going to prove the Earth spinning. No. But you have to learn bloody boring Coriolis effect to get to the point where you can pick apart some nonsense that isn't actually Coriolis when detailing what trains or planes or anything else in the inertial reference frame's doing. Who wants to actually be able to pick apart this stuff? Is it going to be useful to me when I go outside tomorrow? I mean, don't get me wrong, I run a show that it's very intrinsic to, and I understand the irony of what I'm saying, but you understand at a fundamental level, who wants or needs to learn Coriolis deviation and what it is and how it works? Nobody. Nobody wants to know this. I don't want to know this. I'm just generalising baselessly that everybody doesn't want to know it because I think it's a horrible subject.
I love it. I disagree. I love it because when they say it, I'm just salivating. I'm saying, so what you're saying is the Earth must be turning in order to achieve this effect. Yeah, well, if the Earth is turning under a gyro and the Earth is turning under this and that and the other, then it must turn under a helicopter, drone, and airplane too. But it doesn't. So come back to the real world, please.
Mitchell from Australia, he did a video on it 2 days ago. Check out Mitchell from Australia. Very calmly and concisely goes through what a non-inertial reference frame is, what the claim Earth spinning would affect you and what you see if you're on a spinning Earth watching things not on a spinning Earth, giving you Coriolis deviation as you perceive things to curve when they're not really curving. He breaks it all down, along with breaking down that hurricanes have actual spin directions. It's not you observing it from a non-inertial reference frame seeming to deviate. It's actually deviating, i.e. nothing to do with Coriolis. He goes through the whole lot and explains how it debunks Earth turn, because we don't have Coriolis effect. So Mitchell from Australia, kudos to you. Excellent video. I watched it and thought, yeah, hats off. You've understood what Coriolis effect is. You've understood how it debunks Earth turn. And you've laid it out in a very concise and colourful way for people to understand simplistically. Excellent work.
But Nathan, you don't understand.
No, but I do. I do.
But I love that answer, though, because it's like, wait a minute, you're saying it's spinning, so it causes this, Coriolis. But then when I apply it to other things, it should cause the same thing. It doesn't. Your best answer is, I don't understand.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good to have you all. Very enthusiastic. Nice to hear. Any signs of a physical, geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from 20,000 feet, which was my last plane flight.
Any more for any more? Any signs of axial rotation, given that we've got a claimed proof of Earth spin on screen in the form of a hurricane?
No, not Earth base.
We did dwell on this in the pre-show, so just for the live audience. Coriolis deviation would be you on a spinning platform of some description. Now, in the case of the claimed proof Earth spins, you will be on a ball Earth spinning. And what you're going to be doing to demonstrate Coriolis, or observe Coriolis, is seeing something seem to deviate that isn't actually deviating. So it's only because you're spinning underneath something that's not spinning with you that it seems, because you're spinning underneath, to deviate. Now, hurricanes have an actual spin direction. That would be to say that as you look up at them from a claim to be spinning reference frame, they don't seem to deviate. They have an actual spin direction. Not Coriolis effect. They're actually turning. Coriolis effect is a not actual deviation. It only appears to deviate because you're spinning underneath. Sod all to do with hurricanes. Let's just get that clear for anybody who's under the misapprehension that hurricanes prove we spin. They don't.
If they did, then there would be no such thing as anti-cyclones, but they do exist.
It's not Coriolis, even if there was anticyclones. It's not an observation from a spinning platform of something seeming to deviate, but not. It's actually spinning. A hurricane, that is.
Yeah. Next question.
Same goes for water going down a drain. Yeah, that's not you on a rotating platform watching something seem to rotate or seem to curve when it's actually travelling straight. Water going down a drain, unless you're been shrunk by the shrinking machine in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and you're actually spinning down the drain with the water, looking up at the soap on the side of the bowl, going, oh, look at that, it looks like it's curving. But it's actually me spinning underneath it. Well, unless that's the circumstances, water going down a drain is absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect, same as hurricanes. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, Paul Hall's just been gravitated towards the hangout. Hey, Paul.
He's been
No, that's joining.
Oh, got some
Oh,
feedback.
I thought it was gravity. I thought it was a force of attraction.
Hello. Now,
Hello.
all they have is reference frames, geometry. That's all they have for gravity.
They can't even define gravity. I was listening to Rumpus on one of Spurs Chemo's latest shows, and he was describing it as a force of attraction, and he knows it's an effect, but he still tells people it's a force of attraction.
Hang on, Anthony. Hang on, Anthony. They have defined gravity. It's a non-force force.
Yeah, but they can't define it though. They always get it wrong.
No, but they did. Their high priest said it's not a force, but
No,
you
he said-
can think of it as a force.
Yeah, it's an effect, but they need it to be a force because they know their model requires it. Well, if it's not a force, but their model requires it, then what is that force? Because you need one, and they haven't got one. Glorious.
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody?
Very well.
All good, sir. All
good to have
good.
you.
All the colours of the rainbow.
Awesome.
So you had Skittles for breakfast?
Yeah, fat Skittles. Anyway,
any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
no.
I hang on. I got a response from someone I left a message. Pull it up. Although I should have had it ready.
Oh,
So Dr. Becky put out a video, I think it was yesterday, and I commented on it. And of course, unfortunately, Dr. Becky didn't comment back, but one of the subscribers did. So you go on, Nathan, and when I find it, I'll bring it up.
That's all right. We'll hang around. I don't mind there being
I
a ton
know.
of pressure on
I'm
you.
just scrolling. I got. Oh, here it is.
There's no
No.
pressure. Just dead air.
Dead air.
No.
Okay,
Oh well.
where'd
I'll
you
move
go?
on. Okay,
Yeah, move
fine.
on.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Over there.
Over where? I can't see it.
Yeah, it's not a sunny day today, is it?
Nah. Miserable.
What is the sun? Is it a ball of hydrogen helium fusion magic?
Where would that magic be taking place? Exactly.
Oh, it's in space.
Oh, they're definitely not. That would violate the second law of thermodynamics. So it's definitely not that.
Oh.
The first part, maybe. Don't know. I've never been there. Could be. But as for it being that in a vacuum, definitely not. Just a few seconds to see if we hear anything from 10th Man. If not, we'll go on to the next housekeeping question.
I'm taking a picture of it and I'll post it. So go on to the next one.
Okay, sure.
Wait a minute. Don't go. Let's think about that. I've been thinking about this. Gas particles have elastic collisions, right? And they say uneven distribution of mass was what causes the attraction, so to speak. Well, the only thing we can ever see happening in reality is when you cool things down, it's actually their natural attraction or the bonds that cause them to go together, correct? Not gravity? Do I misunderstand that? I wish Adam was here to confirm this. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you reduce temperatures down of ice, it goes from a gas to a liquid to a solid. Because the kinetic energy is reduced. And the bonds is what causes them to coalesce, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it probably has nothing to do with the so-called gravity, but everything to do with the chemical bonds or the way that the molecules bond with each other. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So now that being the case, I was actually something I was bringing up to them yesterday on Discord. They always talk about the weight of a gas, correct? Well, the only way you can weigh a gas is it has to be under pressure and contained, right?
Correct.
Now, Zanuck was saying that the proof of the weight of the gas is actually the barometer, right? So if you go higher, the pressure reduces, and that's his proof that the weight of that gas has weight. Well, think about that for a second. Isn't barometer actually? Jesse just started to scream in the background, but isn't that proof of pressure, not weight? Because I asked him, I said, well, if you put that same now I'm begging the question a little bit, so bear with me. But if I put that same barometer in the ISS, would it work? He said yes. I said, so really you're not measuring weight, you're measuring pressure.
Yeah.
So,
You have to go back to the definition of weight. The minute anyone says weight, ask them for the definition. And weight's defined as mass times the acceleration due to gravity, right? Well, mass for gases, because gases don't have the intermolecular bond, it doesn't have the ability to have more than its own molecule in mass. So although it has a molecule of mass, none of them are connected. So they exist, but because they're not connected, they don't have a collective mass. They just have lots of particles all floating around at this high speeds, bouncing into walls and each other and stuff. But you've got lots of little ones rather than one cumulative one. So the only way that you can cumulatively get the gas is to put it in a container, and then you can calculate it. It's what they tell you is weight, and I use that colloquially, not within the physics definition. But you need that containment. Without that containment, you're not able to weigh it because you haven't got a way of collecting it, because you can't weigh a fart. You need a balloon, right? You need to put it in a balloon to be able to weigh it. Well, without the balloon, you haven't got any weight. That's because they don't have any intermolecular bonds. So that deals with the definition for mass for the first instance for weight. But the second one requires the acceleration due to gravity. Well, we know gravity doesn't cause things to accelerate. It's the effect of something being pushed or pulled on their model, according to current physics. But on their model, they're applying weight because they accept that gravity is a force. Well, we know it's not a force. So what does that do to the maths? It nullifies the maths. So weight's a trigger word. Be careful with the word weight.
I posted it. It's up there, both.
Okay,
I agree.
I'll go and grab it in just. I will grab it in a second, 10th man. Just quick shout out to Julio Pabon, who says, "Hey 10th man, I'm literally eating wild berry Skittles for breakfast. Oh, and Earth is flat." Thanks very much for the super chat, Julio Pabon. Can we move on, or should we do the? I forgot what question it was in relation to now, 10th man. Which one was?
Well, we'll go ahead and finish, and then we'll come to gases in space.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, I heard what's his face, Zanuck telling people that the Boltzmann formula was a way to measure gas pressure. The Boltzmann formula is a probability calculator. It's not a measurement. It's a probability. So I could calculate the chances of winning the lottery, right? But that doesn't mean that you are actually going to win the lottery just because you've calculated the probability that you might. So he conflates the probability calculation as the possibility of it being a measurement. The guy's an idiot.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only in cartoons.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
The only R that I'm familiar with is Arwin.
Where is Arwin?
Don't know.
Must be caught up or waylaid on his own show. Subscribe to Arwin. Right, 10th man. Do you want me to pop up this so people can see it?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's on.
All right. So I think this was labeled, it was 18 hours ago on Dr. Becky's channel, Black Holes Kill Galaxies, ? My Astrophysics PhD Part 2. I believe that was where this was listed. So let me go to it now. And obviously, I said when I was listening to it, and she brought up the topic of gas particles in space and gases in space. I said, gas in space, 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum next to gas pressure, maybe in Narnia. Funny face. Then I got a response from Just Looking, one of the followers of the channel. You guys, Flurfs, oh my God, you should be embarrassed to even be commenting here. But I'll answer your insinuation. First off, a vacuum is not a force on its own. It's merely the absence of matter in space-time continuum. To put it bluntly, a vacuum doesn't suck. Secondly, in areas where there is matter, it is the matter itself that causes pressure, whether gas, liquid, or solid. The matter is subject to all the local forces that we typically found, maybe, up to and including gravity. Next to planets such as Earth, when gravity is greater than the other forces acting on the matter, then matter will gravitate towards the center mass. As a result, second slide, as a result of the foregoing, there's well-measured and demonstrable pressure gradient up through Earth's atmosphere. Pressure at sea level, 14.69 psig. Pressure at Everest summit, 4.89 psig. Pressure past the Kármán line, 0.00 psig. As you can see, the pressure difference is far greater between Everest summit and sea level, 10 psig, than Everest summit and space, 4.89 psig. So I ask you, why does the pressure between Everest and sea level not try to equalize? ? Because the force of gravity is greater than the energy of the gas in the atmosphere is. Why?
Must have
Go
not been
ahead.
keeping up.
Pick it apart.
Must have not been keeping up with the times. Even the times 100 years ago, where gravity stopped being a force or considered to be a force. What is wrong with this person? I don't get it.
So let's start with his straw man. You didn't assert that it was going to be sucking anything. You said gas in space, 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum next to gas pressure, maybe in Narnia. You didn't assert anything about sucking. Secondly, it doesn't have a force. There are no forces of gravity. Gravity is not a force. Let's quote Brian Cox. Dr. Brian Cox. Gravity is not really a force at all. End quote. Or George Moussa. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. End quote. Gravity is not a force, so it doesn't have anything to override the entropy that would take place should the sky be a vacuum. Now he mentions the Kármán line. What would that be? The edge of space, right? What's it pressing on at the Kármán line? Oh, nothing. It's just got an available volume to fill. And fill it must. That's called entropy. It's a natural law. So what he's describing is a second law of thermodynamics violation as opposed to any proof that you have a sky vacuum. He's describing a violation of natural law and justifying it by saying that we have a pressure differential? A delta of gas pressure? How do we have the gas pressure in the first place? To form a pressure gradient, if the sky is merely an available volume for that gas to fill, because gas expands in all directions to fill the available volume. So the sky, if it was a vacuum, well, the gas, like these clouds here, high pressure gas, they're going to want to fill this space. That's what gas does, it expands at high velocity in all directions. So if this bit here is a vacuum, then the gas is going to want to fill it. So your pressure gradient's a delta of gas pressure. Gas, pressure, gradient still needs containment to form gas pressure and then form gas pressure gradient. So this is a red herring fallacy. Doesn't address the question. How can you have 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum if we're breathing gas pressure? You can't. It violates natural law. Thanks, 10th man. Good little back and forth. Did you reply?
No, not yet. There's only when I did this, it was only, well, right now it's more than 6 hours ago, but
The reply is, how can you have gas pressure in the first place to have a gas pressure gradient if the sky is an available volume for the gas to fill? Second law of thermodynamics would dictate that the gas would fill the space.
yeah, there's many problems there.
Very good. They want gravity to be a force even when the priests tell them it isn't. Like yesterday when we were discussing this. Even if the priests tell them. Let's use it for instance. Oh, George Moussa again. Why not? Let's use the quote I just used. When that was told to an individual who was challenging Sleeping Warrior in regards to his use of a former quote from George Moussa about Einsteinian nonsense bullshit gravity, snapping the wand in two of Newtonian gravity, well, an individual Fight the Flat Earth didn't like that. So he wanted to get clarity. Now, he wasn't calling George Moussa because he wanted affirmation that gravity's not a force, but that's precisely what he got. But in the face of that, they still claim it's a force. Why? Well, because they're thinking of it as a force, on the not really is level. Even when their priests tell them. They want to deceive themselves. Like I said yesterday, once this has been exposed, once you are enlightened, you've got no one to blame but yourselves. Me also. That's why I can chuckle about this. How stupid was I? I thought it was a globe. Whoa, what an idiot. Not, how dare the powers that should not be, how have they deceived me? Why have they deceived me? What is the truth? They don't owe me a thing. They let me know it was bullshit from the start. If I'd have looked into it in any slightest of details, I would have found that out. Now I have. I realise it for absolute certain. There is no sphere. It's a mere philosophy. Well, I thought it was. I thought. Me. Now, it's stated otherwise in the rhetoric. George Moussa's telling you verbally when you ask him. Not a force. Couldn't be more clear about it. Your thoughts about the not really is level aren't really relevant here. Because we do work in the really is world.
But like you say, he's given them permission and said, we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level. Unfortunately, we operate on the really is level here. And if you're a grown adult, that's where you should be acting. So I don't understand.
Hey, Chemo.
Well,
It's a little weird.
Isn't the whole idea that they have a model prove it's not real? Because
That's a contradiction in terms right there.
Hey, Nate,
if it's
hey, Nate.
reality,
They've
you wouldn't need a model.
absolutely given up. A lot of them are into trivia now. They're trying to find an alternative to their paradigm. I was just talking with Jem, and he was saying, well,
Hang on, Spurs.
why is it so
Hang on,
damaging?
Spurs.
Why is it so significant? Why is the black swan what it is? And I'm like, well, you've got no geometry concerning the heliocentric model anymore. Distance, they just won't have it. They say, just catch my breath here. I've just
Hey,
been running.
Spurs. Spurs, can you hear me?
They say that geodetic surveying
Hold on 1 second.
proves that the Earth is a globe of 3959. So, I mean, they just won't accept it. They think that any experiments or tests of, if we go out there and try to demonstrate that it's not 3959, they say we're doing it flawed. They say it's flawed, that we are doing something wrong, and that's just the response, is that we must be the ones who have made the mistakes. What do you think of it? What do you say? Because how would you how would you respond to that if someone's saying, well,
hold on, Spurs. Hold on, Spurs. Hold on. So I think 10th Man was trying to get something in there. Go on, 10th Man. Did you want to?
Yeah, Spurs. Good morning.
Hey, 10th Man, morning.
Okay, go on.
Not bad at all.
Okay, Spurs.
Bad.
So
I tell you,
did you watch? Let me just establish where you are in the how up to date with the flat Earth debate you are. Did you watch either Bev Try Thinking or Brian's presentations recently?
I've been up to date with Bev. Absolutely, we've been discussing his test with the water level. Absolutely. But is there anything else? Have we got a date for doing it and stuff? Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you something specific about a principle that you now have exposed you do understand if I discuss it with you. So what Bev is discussing is using a water level when that tool is unanimously established by both geodetic and planar surveyors as establishing a flat level for Euclidean geometry to be applied with tangents and parallel lines, horizontal and vertical, with lots of axioms being held true. Now, their assertion, Spurs, is that they utilise a tangent plane. Do you understand that bit?
Yeah.
Do you understand also that we have debunked the tangent part of that statement?
Well, that's the point. With the no physical horizon, they can't have a tangent, right?
Right. So what are you left with? The planar and geodetic surveyors are both assessing land as flat. Their presupposition that you've taken a tangent from a sphere.
This is my point. I've just been saying this is crazy. I was just saying this now to Jem. I was speaking with Jem. I was saying, okay, so if geodetic surveying is measuring the ball, if they're not measuring something physical, what are they measuring? If it's not, so yeah, there's no tangent for them to actually have.
I haven't made my point yet, Spurs. You're right, and I understand that. That's why I'm on this subject with you, because that's what I gathered from what you said when your opener. My point was going to be the assertion that they must make here in the trenches is that a water level is actually curving and giving them different levels because it's on a presupposed sphere. So, given that you would presumably understand that they assert that a water level is actually curved, that's their premise. You also appreciate now that their surveyors don't hold true to that premise. That when they map out their tangent plane and utilise tools like levels, the principle of the level is as claimed by Bev. In other words, their assertion that it's actually curving around a presupposed sphere isn't how the tool's being utilised even by their own surveyors. They need levels to be level.
That's exactly what I was saying this morning, yeah. That's precisely what I was saying. How?
Yeah, you're ripping my conclusion. They need levels to be level even in geodetic surveying. So in other words, the assertion that these things aren't level isn't going to be backed up by anybody ever, anywhere. Levels are level, and so is the surveying being done by the globe-believing, presupposing geodetic surveyors, who coincidentally are working around the idea that they're on and using tools for planar surveying.
It's insane. Like, they just think that because of our position, we're doing it flawed. This is This is why I hope when Bev does the experiment test demonstration thing here, we get that ball earther out there to witness and then be happy basically with what's going on, because they're incredulous. This is what we're dealing with. They just can't believe that we can actually perform a demonstration and show what they've told us about the shape of the Earth is true or not. So.
Well, Rumpus from the chat has, I think, summarised it so we can all understand this better. He says, over short distances, the Earth is not very curved. Oh, really? I thought it was 8 inches per mile squared. There we go. Rumpus obviously contradicts that. Nevertheless, he goes on. Hold on. He goes on to say that planar surveyors don't worry about curvature, whereas geodetic surveyors have to worry about curvature. So it's just a matter of how much you concern yourself with your religious belief, it seems, because both of them are using levels as level and both of them are working on flat planes. They just assume the tangent bit and then worry about it at length because they're worried about the fact that they've presupposed a tangent when they're actually working on a plane. So the mere difference is the concern level that the individual has for their presupposition if they're geodetic, or their complete lack of it when they just get on with it and assess the world as it is, which is flat, if you're a planar surveyor. So that's the only difference, just how much you worry about your religious belief, according to Rumpus. That's fascinating. Thank you very, very much for confirming it's just how much you worry about your religion. That's really nice to know. The tangent bit of the plane they work on, though, plane being the most important bit with geodetic surveyors, Rumpus. The plane bit, they're operating on a plane, levels are level, perpendiculars remain at right angles. All of those things hold true on the plane that they actually survey. The fact that they've got a worry about the presupposition in the back of their mind doesn't change the fact that they're still going to be using these tools that prove we're on a flat plane as they are intended. They don't suddenly deviate from being tools that demonstrate flat and level, and the axiom of flat and level doesn't change to be curved either. They hold true to these absolutely sound principles of surveying in both respects. So next time Zanuck comes, as he did yesterday, check it out. If you're not subscribed to my second channel, you need to be for today's show. So yesterday's after show is going out on Nathan Oakley channel tonight at 10 PM UK time, which is about 5 PM Central Standard, I think. Something like that. Anyway, you can hear this being dissected between myself and Zanuck, with him basically conceding. Yeah, their tools are used to assess level surfaces, while he's simultaneously saying that the level that's being detailed by Bev isn't actually level, it's showing curved. And the principle will never be backed up or cited because neither surveyors are going to hold true to that.
Holy shit, man, that was the longest monologue ever. Two things. Geodetic surveyors calculate curve, they don't measure it, whereas planar surveyors do measure flat. That's one difference. And the other difference is that when Rumpus says things like, I don't know if you saw it yesterday with Bev or the day before with Bev, try thinking, but Rumpus took issue with the definition of the word perpendicular. In the definition from Euclid, it states that they're two straight lines, and then it goes on, there's a few more to it, but it defines the word straight lines. But Rumpus tried to include curved lines in the definition, and I said, hang on a sec, it doesn't say curved, it says straight lines. And he started indicating that straight lines and curved lines, they can be interchangeable, but they can't. So basically Rumpus was adding a little bit of shit on that wasn't already in the definition, and I was like, no, that's not okay, you can't add more to it. The definition states straight lines. So not only do geodetic surveyors calculate for curvature that isn't there, they need to change the meanings of words to have any explanation or to have any applicability for their terminology, because their terminology doesn't comply with Euclidean geometry, and that's a bit of a problem if you believe that we live on a sphere. I'm done.
Yeah, the geodetic surveys are using Euclidean geometry on their quote-unquote tangent plane, and we've debunked the tangent part of it. All that they're left with is the fact that they're surveying a plane.
I tell you what's interesting.
Question for the Rumpus, just on that. I assume these surveyors they're like degree level, and I just wondered if you could find out how many lectures and exams they have on worrying. Because he does state it's a professional misconduct if they don't worry about it.
Yeah, you've got to worry about it.
Not calculate for it or measure for it.
I tell you what's an interesting paradox that's bound to arise in the coming weeks. I hear ballers saying things like, if you ask any surveyor, and they've got Jesse Kozlowski and whoever, but I'm going to make a prediction. There's going to be a surveyor that's brought into this from the flat Earth side, and whoever that surveyor happens to be, it's going to be another Brian Mullen example where that guy is going to say the obvious thing that water level means level. It doesn't mean curve. But then what's going to happen is he's going to be bullied within an inch of his life and possibly lose his job because ballers can't let this thing come out. So whoever the unfortunate person is, and this is kind of a notice of caution for our side, don't be too quick to jump onto the surveys, because whoever ends up being like unintentionally or unawareingly agrees to help in this situation, that guy's going to end up losing his job. So and this bully boy tactic that these scummy ballers need to apply and will apply against any unfortunate, unsuspecting surveyor that we introduce into this topic, he's going to end up losing his job because he's going to be bullied out of his job just by saying that water level doesn't curve. So just be aware that's what's going to happen, and it is going to happen. Somebody is going to get dragged into this unintentionally and lose their job. Doesn't that speak volumes for the ballers?
With my crystal ball, I derive by statistical analysis that Anthony will win the lottery.
Yeah, but someone is going to end up losing the job. Mocking aside, Nathan, somebody will get dragged into this on our side, and he will lose his job. And that's what ballers do. They need that bully boy mentality.
My favorite part is that their argument is supposed to be curvature, but then we got Rumpus who will come in and chat and tell us, "Oh, they're not worried about it." Really? That's your argument, though, isn't it? Shouldn't you fight for their having to be curvature, not that it's so negligible, they don't worry about it? Yeah, because it's not there. What's wrong with you guys?
Is there any of these Antifa baller tactical people in Discord right now that wants to jump on?
Any ballers in Discord? I don't think so. I don't know, though. Some of them never speak, so you never get to find out.
Cowards.
Well, we talked about this in the pre-show about the Socratic method and what words mean, Anthony. So they can go ahead and redefine what the word straight or level or plane or curve, all they want. We just laugh at them. They're set in stone. These words are set in stone.
It'd be great if Rumpus could join. I do have a question for Rumpus, but I want to catch him on the bounce. I don't want to give him the question and then allow him time to think, because it is a gotcha, and it just demonstrates how silly their position is with regards to the water level claim that they make. So Rumpus, if you do want to join, I do have a gotcha question for you, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how you weasel out of it. But I understand if you don't want to.
I got one too when he comes. I want him to respond to the American Association of Geographers saying that we must embrace fiction in our nonfiction. I want to know what that means to him.
I love the confidence in the question that you'll tell him it's a gotcha, but still give it to him anyway. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is a gotcha. He's screwed.
You're going to need someone in Discord to shuffle out into a different room. Anyone who's not talking in Discord, can you shuffle on? There we go.
And if he does come in, let's take a moment just to think of the consequence of my question.
Go ahead and ask your question. He's coming. Go ahead, Anthony.
Is he here?
Yeah.
Oh, Rumpus, great. So Rumpus, don't jump on the answer. Just think about it logically first. You claim that the water level, as the further away it goes from you, it begins to curve around the curvature of the Earth, right?
Right. The water level remains. I'm going to use this as an approximation so you can understand it. It retains the same distance from the center of the Earth, although we know that actual elevation is defined in terms of the WGS84 ellipsoid. But just to make it simple for you, I know I told you this at the start of the Hangout with Bev and you forgot about it, so I'll remind you again, just for simplicity's sake, we'll say that the elevation of something is from the center of the Earth. And
why will we? Why will we say that? Sorry, why will we say that? Why will we beg the question? Why will we say that?
Because that's the reality.
Sorry, so we're just going to beg the question because you say it's real? No, we won't. We won't just say that. Don't you ever learn?
So we can derive.
Listen closely. You do not get to beg the question here. You do not just get to state your outcome because you say it's real. That's not tolerated. No.
My model.
And now you're talking through me. And now he's talking through me. He's scared. He's scared of me pointing out his logical fallacy. He's scared
He
of me
was asking
pointing
me
out his
questions
logical
about my
fallacy, so he's got to
model.
talk through me and shut down
He
communications.
was asking me questions about
I
my...
am shutting down communications, is what you're doing. You're shutting down communications.
He was asking me questions about the
When you
globe
finish, Rumpus,
model.
let me know when you're finished, and I'll point out your logical fallacy without interruption.
Correct. So he was asking me a question about the globe model. So I was obviously using the globe terms, and I was pointing out that elevation is defined in approximately, not quite exactly, to the distance from the center of the Earth. So when we talk about, as he said, in the globe model,
He
as
didn't
in
say in the
reality,
globe model. That's not what he
Well,
said.
that's what he was asking. He was
That's
asking
not
me
what he
my
asked.
view on my model.
That's not what he
Yes, was.
asked. You're just lying.
He was
So
asking
let me
questions
point out
about
your logical
the globe
fallacy
model.
again, because that's not what happened. No, he
He
didn't
was
say that.
asking me questions about
He asked you
the
about
globe
what a
model.
water level did. He didn't ask you.
on the globe model.
Right, Rumpus, if you keep interrupting every response, I've just let you have your little waffle. Now I'm going to respond. Number one, no, he did not give you permission to beg the question. That's the first thing. Number two, begging the question, that would be assuming your outcome, and just telling us that we're going to assume we're on a sphere is not tolerated. That would be a logical fallacy. It's called begging the question. It's assuming the outcome. Justifying it by saying, well, that's what we're... Right, piss off. You're not going to get to talk through me constantly. Yeah, he's scared, ladies and gentlemen. He's come and used a fallacy and then blamed Anthony for the fallacy that he's used. And when I point it out, he's got to shut down communications. He's scared of losing. No, Rumpus, I'm gonna point out where you've failed to use sound logic. Now, Anthony's not the blame here. You are.
See, and that's what
It's a shame because I
frustrates
really
me.
wanted to get my question to him, but
What do you want? You didn't beg the question. He's blamed you for begging the question, Anthony. Is that reasonable?
I haven't even asked the question yet, so I can't beg the question if I haven't even asked it yet.
Oh, you asked about whether or not a level was level. You asked a question, though, didn't you?
Yeah, that wasn't the question. No, I didn't get to the point.
Okay, well, let me just point out, Anthony. He took that question to mean that you've given him permission to beg the question, and I pointed that out, and then he talked through me. That's what's just happened.
I know. I was going to let him beg the question, Nathan. I know you didn't want to, but it really would have helped if.
But you hadn't yet. You hadn't yet. He had.
I know.
I'm glad Nathan stopped him because that's what happened the other day. He begged the question and set his own rules for terminology that didn't match reality. And it just went on and on and on.
I put their own alma mater wiki in the Ball Busters. If you want to pull that up for them, because he seems to be confused about something.
Yeah, the elevation being the distance to the center of the Earth.
Yeah,
that on the
And he started it off with asking you, well, even though that's not really what it is, you can think of it as this is what it's going to be. And we could talk about it like that. Right, Rumpus?
For the purposes of morons, we'll use that because that's the only thing they can understand. They don't understand WGS84. So I'm...
How do you measure from the centre of the Earth?
I've just shut him up. He's not going to get to sit here and call us morons. Who's asked me to present this elevation from geographic location? Whoever wants to read. Is it you, Chocolate?
Yeah, I can read it if you want.
Yes, please.
Just on the line part, elevation is not to be confused with the distance from the center of the Earth.
But he's a liar.
Yeah.
There's a liar. You're a liar, Rumpus. It's not to be confused with the distance from the center of the Earth. You're confused. You're a moron. Says specifically
Worst part
not.
is he knows that, and he prefaced his nonsense so that we could just discard that, and we can just continue.
Right.
So that not
I know
only
exactly
confused,
what
but you're a liar and disingenuous.
You're a liar, Rumpus.
Sorry.
You're a liar.
I
It's
know
not.
exactly
You're
what
confused,
elevation
Rumpus. You're confused.
But you don't. So I have to give it to you in simple terms.
Sorry, you are confused. It's
And the
not
simple way
to
to
be
explain to you
confused
is to
with
say
the
from
distance to the center of the Earth. You're talking through,
And
shutting
that's a
down
simple
communications.
explanation
Shutting down
for
communications again. We're telling you, not
we'll
asking you anything. You need to shut up and listen. You're
We'll talk
confused.
about WGS84 then. Okay, we'll talk about WGS84.
I'm
instead.
telling
I'll explain it
you,
in terms
you're
of
not doing
WGS84.
anything. Are you not going to tolerate being told?
If you want to talk about elevation,
I'm telling you, I'm asking if you're not going to tolerate that. Can't you tolerate being told that you're wrong? You're wrong.
I'm right. I'm right.
Let's just shut him up and tell him it is not to be confused, which is something you've done, with the distance to the centre of the Earth. You are not right. You're confused.
I'm completely correct.
He's not correct. He's confused. Chocolate, can you read it again?
Elevation is not to be confused with the distance to the center of the Earth.
And I don't confuse them either.
You've just said that's what it is.
Oh, not confusing. You actually said, look, even though we know it, that's not what it is, that's how we're going to use it, Rumpus. Come on, bro. Do you really think you're that slick?
For the purposes of an explanation to idiots, I have to do that.
Well, then you can fuck
Oh,
off.
exactly.
Go and talk
Thank
to
you for the
idiots. You're
concession.
confused.
That's exactly what you did. Thanks.
Yeah, we're not confused. You're an idiot and confused. It's not to be confused with it, and you're confusing it with it. So we're not idiots. You can now piss off. Sorry, Anthony. I'm just not going to tolerate it. When he's smashed, he calls us idiots.
Yeah. He's the one that...
I don't like being called an idiot.
When he was presented with the definition by Euclid for perpendicular, and it expressly stated the lines were straight lines, for some reason he thought it was okay to conflate straight lines with bendy lines, and they're not. That by exclusion, they're not included. That doesn't mean bendy lines don't exist. We all know that bendy lines do exist. But if perpendicular was meant to be referring to bendy lines, then it would have said bendy lines, but it didn't. So no, Rumpus, you are confused again. Otherwise known as just making shit up.
Right, couple of quick
That's
shout
what he's
outs
known
to...
for.
Just one sec. Elijah Freeman says, "Good morning, heroes of truth." He's talking to you guys, I'm sure. Bleeding Warrior says, "Faking it to make it, Riley. Fake subs and likes." Smashing the super chat for me. I can't believe it. He's given me about £6 so far.
200 subs.
Say again?
Shout out to my new but temporary 200 subs.
Shout out to Bleeding Warrior for keep smashing the super chat to highlight this nonsense.
I have a question. It's just a simple one. If Rumpus thinks we are morons, what does it say him that he constantly comes on here and debates and argues with morons? What does that make him? And I'm not
Moroner.
Yeah, but I mean, does it arguing with a fool make you a fool? So if he thinks we're fools or morons, that makes him a moron, right?
Well, not only that, Paul, but then he uses plane geometry because he can't prove it with his geodetic stuff. And then he cowards out by saying, I just did that so it could be simple for you. No, you did that because it only works that way.
Oh, I agree. And everything I've been watching about that, about curvature of space-time, it's funny how they talk that even in the curvature of space-time, they have to talk about a flat section, and you have to adjust it for curvature. Seems like that's funny, even in the understanding of relativity and the curvature of space-time. Locally, it has to be flat, but it also at some point has to curve. So they have to make it curve at some point. It's funny how
they need to get a new globe model. The globe model they need is a disco ball with little mirrors in squares. That is representative of what they're doing. So they need a new model.
Shout out to DJ Neo Shaman, who says, #Black Swan for the win. Keep kicking them in their balls, brother. Pun intended. Thank you very much for the super chat, DJ Neo Shaman.
I'd like to circle back to a topic. I was thinking about this earlier. Force is mass over acceleration, right? And weight is mass over time, rewind. Force is mass times acceleration. If you look at the definition of weight, it is mass times the acceleration of gravity. Now, question: in what reference frame is my coffee cup sitting on the table accelerating? So if it's not accelerating in any reference frame, how is there
There's a net
gravity
force
or
of zero. The table is pushing up the same amount as the weight is pushing down. Net force of zero, no acceleration.
Okay.
Because
hold on,
forces.
Rumpus. What does zero mean? Nothing.
Zero net force. You can have two opposite forces of the same value, giving a net force of zero.
Okay, what reference frame is my coffee table accelerating up? Which reference frame?
It's not accelerating because there's a net force of zero. There's the force of gravity pushing it down. There's the force of the table pushing it up. A net force of 0, therefore the acceleration is 0.
So there's no force, no weight, no nothing.
Opposite
What
forces.
force is going on if you take the cup off the table?
Yeah, if you remove the table, there's no upward force from the table.
I said
therefore
remove the
accelerate
cup
down
from
to
the
force of
table.
gravity.
You said
I missed the question.
the cup, the table is forcing upwards, and
Correct.
the cup is forcing downwards.
Oh, if I moved, like I moved the coffee
The
cup
weight
off my
pushing
table,
down and
it
the
didn't
table's
start- it
pushing
didn't
up
start
to
accelerating
give you a
up.
net force of 0.
Wait a minute. I just moved my coffee cup, and I didn't see the table accelerating upwards. Why didn't it accelerate upwards? What reference frame is my table?
I mean, yeah. If
upwards?
you no, there's a little dent when you put your cup on the table.
No
it makes a very
way.
small dent in the table, and so when you lift your coffee cup up, the little dent will come back. It will be undone. Raise up.
Is that due to relative density?
Little dent.
I mean, you're just laughing at science. I mean, this is what science says. I mean, I know you don't accept it. You're laughing at it, but you're a science
Citation,
denier.
please.
So this is what we
Citation.
expect.
A
Isn't
dense
science.
Same as
citation, please.
pushing on a ball.
This isn't science. Let's just nip that in the bud. Rumpus likes to assert science when he's talking about anything that hasn't been established through the scientific method with cause and effect reasoning and a hypothesis and an experiment. This isn't science.
Science. I mean, you're just denying science. You deny
This isn't science.
absolute science.
Can
If
I
you're
have a-
claiming,
Wait, Rumpus, the
if you're
science
claiming that
prove-
a dent, if you're
the science
claiming
prove
that there's
things?
not a small dent
Rumpus?
in a table when you put your coffee cup on it, you are simply denying reality.
Oh my gosh. So, hey, will you give me the little dent citation from your science, please?
Yeah, and I'd like to
You want me
see.
to
Tell,
give you
I
citation?
asked a specific question.
Hold on. He's been asked for something now, Paul. Hold on. I'm really sorry.
Right. So the question. So you want me to give you a citation so that if you put a weight on something like a table, that it will cause a small depression, and that will create an upward force to oppose the weight. That's what you want a citation for.
What you mean? What you claimed?
Well, did I not just summarise? I thought I summarised there what he was asking for.
Well, no,
Is
he
it not-
summarised
wanna
your.
say-
No. He summarised. You just summarised your own claim.
Right. Okay, but I thought he was agreeing that was my claim.
No, right. Agreeing that was your claim. Not agreeing. Just saying it's your claim and then asking you to back it.
Okay, so he's understood what my
It's got
claim.
a
So does he? Yeah, I want to make sure though he
Hold on,
understands what my
Brian.
claim is, so that when I give him a citation,
But
for
you
it,
want to
I'm not
make
giving
sure
him-
what your claim is. We've already heard your claim, and now you've clarified your claim. Have you got a citation for it or not?
Right. So you want a citation for what I've just.
I don't need you to summarise your claim or give me your claim a third time. You've either got a citation for it or you haven't.
I haven't at this very moment. No.
So it's just bullshit then. You just made it up.
No, I didn't make it up. You ask anybody who
Shut
understands anything
up.
about
Don't
science.
tell me about your appeal to consensus fallacy. How dare you now appeal to consensus? You've been asked for a citation. You haven't fucking got one. So you just made it up. Sick of liars. I'm absolutely sick of it.
Yep. He does that
He said
quite
we're
often.
Let me ask you something about a mathematics. Hey, Lily. If I multiply in mathematics something by 0, what will it equal when I multiply something by 0?
In mathematics, it
Oh,
would be
don't.
zero.
Hold on. Don't do it, Sleeping Warrior.
Okay, so if there's no acceleration.
Hold on, Paul.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
What am I waiting for?
Wait for Rumpus to actually answer.
Oh, sorry. I thought I didn't realise. I didn't realise I was back. You keep on banning me.
That's because you say
what's the
dumb
question?
shit that you've just made up. You ask for a citation, you go round in circles for a couple of minutes about what you've actually claimed, avoiding and distracting away from the fact that you haven't got a bloody citation for it.
Got a citation for flat Earth or anything else you say?
Sorry, now let's not reverse burden of proof fallacy because you've been smashed and you can't back your claim that you've reasserted 3 times without citation.
Your claims ever?
Sorry, you're going to reverse the burden of proof again after I've told you not to do it and that it's a fallacy. So just keep reversing the burden of proof. Yet you didn't have a citation, you just made it up. It was nonsense. That's why we smashed you and shut you up. So that you couldn't carry on babbling on and on about how right you were, even though you couldn't back it, you hadn't got a citation, even though you clarified it 3 times. Yeah, unreasonable, mate. Just a lying sack of garbage.
Denier. Okay, I'll go and have a look.
So now it's another ad hom.
say-
So
you
it's
say
another
there's no
logical
scientific-
fallacy in rebuttal to the fact that you've been smashed. Just a string of ad hom fallacies. Calling me a science denier. Third time around, we've not discussed any science here. I'm not denying science. You haven't given us any science. What you have given us is a little story that you made up without any citation to back it whatsoever. And every time I point that out, you start reversing the burden of proof, like I've made a claim that I haven't cited or backed in any way, shape or form beyond my little story that I made up. That would be you making up stories. You without citations. You being shut up and smashed. So don't now reverse the burden of proof for a third time.
Relaying to you mainstream science.
It's not science. Have we got to spend the next, what have we got left on this live show? 8 minutes pointing out that you haven't given us any science. That's the third time.
Science, what I described. Exactly right. I don't have a proof.
Are you just chanting now?
Yes, he is just chanting. Science denier, science denier, science denier. Ignoring all rebuttal. No science has been discussed here, ladies and gentlemen. None.
I will go and get you a citation. Okay, I'll try and find a citation.
I'll go and get you a citation. What you've been asked for and proven to not have with your just so made up story that we're smashing you over and over again for you to only reverse the burden of proof and tell us what we haven't given you. Yeah, you're a moron and a weasel.
I'm relaying to you mainstream science the fact that...
No, it's not mainstream science. We are not discussing science. That's 4 times.
You're a science denier.
So you're just going to ad hom me 4 times?
It is absolutely...
Not science. Absolutely, definitely, unequivocally, not established cause and effect with hypothesis and experimentation. This is not science. He's a liar. He just calls his made-up story science so that you, the fools who are fooled by it, think he's got empiricism. He doesn't.
You don't like science, basically.
It's not science. This is not established cause and effect reasoning with hypothesis. This is not experimentation. This isn't science. Stop trying to lend credence to your just so stories when they get smashed by claiming I've denied science.
Back it up,
Well,
mate.
he just appealed to your intent.
Back what up? I haven't made a claim. That's the 4th time he's reversed the burden of proof. Back what up? What, your claim that we put indents in tables? I haven't claimed anything. You just keep reversing the burden of proof at nausea, chanting.
Wrong. You've
Oh, now I'm just wrong.
claimed what I said. It's
Hey,
wrong.
by the way,
I haven't claimed anything, you moron.
You have. When you...
No, I have not. You have claimed that indents get put in tables. We've then smashed that, and you've done nothing but ad homus and reversed the burden of proof at nausea, you pathetic little weasel. You haven't got anything to back up your little indent in table nonsense, and now you're constantly reversing the burden of proof. It's pathetic.
You've got to prove that.
Prove what? Your claim that the indent goes in the table? That's your claim, moron.
When you refute someone else, you're making another claim. So
No, we asked you to back your claim. Burden of proof is on you, the claimant, moron. Don't you understand the burden of proof? Oh, what a moron. What a moron. Now you're just shouting through me. What a moron. What's shouting through me when I point out that he doesn't understand burden of proof? Can you lecture him, please, Anthony? He's a complete idiot.
Yeah, speak to Sean Hawkins and then take the opposing view, because Sean Hawkins doesn't understand it either. So you and Sean would agree with each other, but you would actually both be the opposite of what is actually true.
I missed that. Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, you were talking while he was talking, so you didn't have to respond to it. It's your only tactic when you're getting absolutely smashed.
Never get smashed. I've never...
Yeah, you've been smashed now. You've made up some nonsense story, and then you haven't backed it, even though the burden of proof is on you, and your only tactic is to talk through me while I point out that you keep reversing the burden of proof and telling me I've got to prove something. I've not made any claims. You have. Therefore, the burden of proof is on you. You failed to back your claim, but you keep reversing that burden and saying, I've got to prove something. Wrong. And now he's talking through me because he's scared of being obliterated. So he's got to shut down this rebuttal, this demonstration that he's the one with the burden of proof. He's the one making the claim. But as he shouts at me to prove it, and I point out for a 5th time that he's using a logical fallacy in rebuttal to us smashing him with his nonsense claim of net force 0 with indents in coffee tables that he can't back by citation, suddenly that means I've got to prove something. No, that's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. You complete moron. That's stupid.
But I have a burden of proof. I agree that I have a burden of proof.
Good. Now sit down, you dumb moron, and be told and affirmed by you that the burden of proof is yours, my friend. You need to prove your nonsense that we're smashing. There's no burden of proof on me to prove anything. I just need to ask you to back your nonsense, and when you fail to do so, I'll point it out while you obfuscate the communication with the audience by talking through me constantly. Now, while that might be a tactic that works other places, I'm more than content to point out that Rumpus isn't going to get to do that here. No, Rumpus. You don't get to reverse the burden of proof. If you're going to claim that coffee cups put on tables are net force 0, and you've got indents being given to the table and everybody understands it with your appeal to consensus fallacy, we'll point out every fallacy you've utilised, every ad hominem attack that you've used in rebuttal, and every single time that you reverse the burden of proof.
Burden of proof to support. If you want to dismiss something,
He's
you
just
have a
talked through
burden
every
proof
word
when
of
you
me,
do
so that's
But if you
Rumpus's
just sit
time
there and wait-
over. Nobody else is going to get to talk to him. He's not listening to me anymore. So Discord server just heard constant garble through that. Me summarising what he'd done, all the fallacies he'd used. He's not going to listen to that. But he is going to make sure Discord can't hear it. Am I right?
Correct. I didn't hear a freaking thing.
Yeah. Shutting down communications, ladies and gentlemen.
Say again, Nathan.
He's shutting down communications.
Yep.
Not listening to the rebuttals and the highlighting of his logical fallacies. No. Shutting down communications instead.
Yep.
Oh, I would like to finish my multiplication issue. So, Anthony, if I have an apple, let's say my equation, I have is multiple apple, or I have an apple, but I multiply my apple times 0. How many apples do I have?
You still got your apple.
No, well, I have apples in my equation, but I multiply it by 0. How many apples would I?
If you multiply anything by nothing, the answer would be nothing.
Okay, so I don't have any apples. So in force times ma, force equals my ma. If there's no acceleration, there's no force. Correct.
Correct.
If there's zero acceleration, there's no force. Coach Lily's trying to want to hug me. So if there's net force 0, that means there's no force. Even if you say net force 0, if you have 0 in any acceleration, no acceleration at all, there's no force applied. So you can't even say gravity is holding my coffee cup on the table.
Yeah, but if you think about the runaway car going down a hill, and then you catch up with it with a rope, stick it on the car, and then come to a stop, there would be a net force of 0 on the car that's coming down the hill because you've stopped it from going down the hill. So you are applying a resistance. You're applying inertia against the car that was freewheeling down the hill. So there is genuinely a net force of 0 there, isn't it? Because you've stopped it from moving, right?
So what's keeping it in place? If you stopped all acceleration, so is what's the force? Is the rope accelerating?
Friction.
No.
Is the rope accelerating? Because you have to have a force. You have to have in a force. You have to have an acceleration. So is the rope accelerating?
The rope's not accelerated. No.
Is the car accelerating?
No.
So what force is holding that car in place?
The rope.
Yeah, he's on about a force, isn't it? So it would be a force that would be equal to its velocity. I don't know how they formulate it or phrase it, but there is something stopping it from. It is the rope stopping it from going down the hill, isn't it? So there is something stopping it from moving.
Oh my gosh, this is so obvious.
Can you say it? Because I'm waiting to round out the live show.
What's that?
So if it's obvious, say it, because I'm waiting for someone to make a conclusion so I can round out the live show and ask everyone to stay tuned if they're watching on the Nathan Oakley channel.
If you don't have the rope, here it is. It's obvious because if you don't have the rope, the car is going to keep rolling downhill. So you put the rope and it stops it. If the rope isn't strong enough, the car will break the twine and it'll still keep rolling.
So cause the car to accelerate?
The slope.
The slope caused the car to accelerate.
It's on 4 wheels. It's on the downward vector. It's going to roll down.
In disequilibrium to begin with. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Wants to go further, but the ceiling's in the way.
I do see Paul's point, though. He's saying that if the car's no longer moving because it's now held by the rope and it's stuck, it's stationary, right? What Paul's saying is it's no longer an accelerating mass. So F equals ma. That ma bit's no longer there. So what Paul's saying is that there therefore can't be an F.
But that's the pretending, isn't it? So to keep it within that mathematical paradigm where they decided to describe weight as mass times acceleration.
Who's wrestling?
To keep it within that paradigm, that language that they've decided to describe it in, they have to cheat. Because if you were to input the actual real data, then zero is unfortunately becomes zero. So what you have to then do is pretend that this is a net forces equals zero. Now you have to pretend because the number you've got to use is zero. You don't use zero. You say, no, it really is 9.8. Look at it. Look, it's accelerating at 9.8. So if we put that number in and say that the table's accelerating the other way, then we can have a zero and still say within the same language and description that bit of maths is using the way it's describing it.
Well, nobody caught it, but I actually asked my question very specifically. Nobody caught it, though. I asked the question, in what reference frame is my coffee cup accelerating? It's resting on my coffee table. In what reference frame is the table accelerating upward? What reference frame is this happening?
According to them, you'd witness it accelerating if you were observing it from the inertial reference frame.
So where's that inertial reference frame at? Can you show it to me so I can go stand in it so I can see this?
Well, for them, no. To visualize that, they'd say from space, wouldn't they? So if you watch the coffee cup from space, i.e. in an inertial reference frame, and you're watching the non-inertial, that would be the spinning reference frame.
Well, wait a minute, think about that for a second, Nathan. Well, in that reference frame, my coffee cup is sitting on my table. And if I'm looking at it from space, it's actually both the table and the coffee cup are kind of moving in a circular motion.
Yeah, they're both accelerating through space. That's right.
So how are they accelerating towards each other?
Well, if you obviously we're in Einsteinian mathematics, you're only going to calculate the one mass, though, aren't you? Not both of them.
What's mass?
Shh! I'm trying to sound intelligent here.
But you get the conundrum you're starting to run into. You see where I'm going with this. It's
conundrum.
Well, I mean, you came in late, John. So did you hear what's been happening?
Well, yeah, I summarized it. Here's my summary. Since we've annihilated F equals ma from Newton, here's what we got. Zanuck, F equals sky valve. M. Scott Vreach, F equals walls of container. And now we have the rumpus with upward F equals table. That's what we got. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that's what I've been trying to expose this by going down these roads because it's like none of it starts making sense if you start really just analyzing it. I guess Feynman was right. The laws of Newton were not right. Is that what we're hearing now?
Yeah, they're not. Can I just ask a question to the panel in general, given based on what Paul's just said and the height of nonsense that the gravity is? If you were like what we used to think were aliens, you know, the squidgy creatures, and you came in and had a little look at Earth, and you happen to notice that there's this discussion going on between people who think that the Earth's a sphere and people who appreciate that it's obviously observably flat and motionless. Which side of the argument would you rather be on? If you were that alien looking down on the two, in other words, you were impartial, would you rather be on the side of the consensus but wrong, or in the minority and right? Which one would you rather be?
Minority but right.
So if you were that impartial Zargon or whatever, you'd say, I'm going to join society as a flat earther in opposition to the general rhetoric they all believe because it's stupid.
Well, I personally can't willingly sign up for something I don't believe is right or can't be verified to be right. So yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
But you could flip it the other way around. So let's say we travel out into the distant plane, or for those of you who are listening to this and are still globe believers, you travel out into space and you arrive somewhere else, and when you get to the somewhere else, a different land, different terra for us flat earthers, you find that the indigenous people believe some crazy notion and have got some crazy religion. And because you're there, you're then part of, you're going to be integrating into society. Maybe you were cut drift and you found yourself there. What do? Do you say, you guys are all crazy? You've got these really ass backwards views of the world. It's really like this, but only to be ostracised from society. Or do you just slip back into their way of thinking purely so that you meld into society like we have to when we go out into the general populace, right?
Well, first of all, I can answer that real quick. I'll answer it real quick. We don't have to travel anywhere. We're experiencing that right here, right now with Rumpus. It's not a visual one, but it's visible. The little dent is the next big one on his repertoire.
See, the problem is, even if there's a little, let's say there is a little dent, but I'm going to beg the question and say there is a little dent. Once there's equilibrium, again, what force is holding my coffee cup on the table?
Paul, the only time I've seen anything put a dent on any piece of wood is when the wood is like balsa wood and very soft, and something heavy fell on it and it left a dent. That's the only
red
time.
herring, man. This is just what he wants us to talk about bloody dents in wood.
Let's apply net force 0 to a helium balloon.
What is it with them and inanimate objects?
It's their god.
That's. I was just gonna say they think they come from that. So,
Yeah.
Nihilism.
How do they justify measuring from the centre of the Earth?
They've got to worry about it. So because they've got to worry about it, they justify it.
You know what he said? He said it's a sphere. We all know it's a sphere.
Then let him
They
prove
just
his measurement.
repackaged it. They just repackaged it, dude. We caught Rumpus the other day. I spammed the chat with it. Everyone started spamming it. It was hilarious.
What was being
right,
spammed?
as Rumpus said, if they don't worry about it, they're professionally incompetent. It is
that was. Sorry, Adam.
Nathan, let me know when you dropped off Skype, Discord. I want to ask the panel what they think about my gotcha question.
Why don't you want to ask in the presence of Discord?
You don't normally keep them on for the whole show, do you? Or do you?
I do, yeah.
Oh right, okay. Well, it'll be at the end then. I don't want to ask it in like I want it to be a gotcha.
A gotcha. I hope it's not that Latin nonsense.
What's wrong with his Latin?
Ooh,
hold on.
Tread carefully, John.
Hold on. What's wrong with his Latin? What's wrong with his Latin? I thought that was all right.
He did, yeah, but the elephant in the room, like I told him like 5,000 times, was Rumpus gave you a really good story about tangents, straight lines, and levels. He's just greasing the skid for the elevation is measured from the center of the earth. That's the whole thing right there.
I did address it though. I didn't let it go by. I did address it.
You did.
Yeah,
Eventually.
we smashed that today.
Oh, you did?
He came. He
chocolate.
came out the gate. His first sentence was, "Yeah, we know that that's not what it is, but for simplicity's sake, let's
Oh
just
my
assume." Yeah. And Nathan just cut that off at the pass right there.
Yeah, that's the same thing that George did. Remember, we had a ball busters on here. George started that nonsense, right? And then we went over the elliptoid.
If I may add something,
Go ahead.
I have a problem with, Rumpus begging the question and assuming R and putting Benson tables because that's what matches his religion and all of that. But it's hard to trust this side of the group also until I get a definite definition of vacation. Because there's definitely, I mean, I don't know, it's just something ain't right.
That's the essence of comedy right there, people.
A definition of what did he say?
So the way comedy works is you lead somebody up to an expectation of what the next statement will be, and then take them in a different direction. So he led us to believe that his discussion was going to be about something very much related to on topic, but then his actual question was, what's the definition of a vacation?
I thought he said that, but I thought I must have misheard. That's why I had to ask.
I've already defined it for him a number of times. He just keeps on, like he's whistling past the graveyard.
I can't find it anywhere. I think you made it up.
Did John provide a citation for you on that, or and then support that citation?
No, he has not, and that's trouble.
Nah, right?
I mean, I can handle the dents in the table, due to gravity, but I can't handle not having definitions provided for vacation, terms we're going to use. We need to get this worked out.
Here's the definition one last time. It's the apparent position between extreme work and comatose relaxation. That's it. Period.
Does that change
Rumpus
based on observer height?
He's going to have me looking for Denson tables all day now.
The density tables.
Dictionary, though.
Is that a pun? Boom, boom.
Listen, it's hard to step away from this topic.
Oh, they're gone.
I got a question.
Go on, John.
Why did the topic of Newtonian physics even come up? With like that's been debunked for like 100 years, right?
Yes.
Q Chocolate's quoting of George Moussa.
Yeah, the only reason why it comes up is because they need it to come up to support their story, the fairy tale.
Hold on, go on,
but when you argue with them,
hold on, just 1 second. Hold on, John. Hold on. There's a great quote coming our way. I saw chocolate pepper in the mute button, so hopefully we'll get the Moussa quote that explains succinctly the answer to that question. We'll see. Hopefully he'll come off mute again. I've been talking long enough for him to come off it, but he hasn't. Oh, there we go.
Quote: "We can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. It doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level." End quote. George Moussa, 2019.
Does that answer your question, John?
Yeah, but I mean that's not what they believe. I don't know why. I think it's just like a big red herring they keep throwing out there, and that way, if you debunk it, what have you actually done?
Oh, but they must. They've been told by George Moussa to, so they must. If you're told by a priest, then you must.
Moussa. Hold on a second. Some of them have, and I'm very small number, have taken physics in high school, and all they talk about are Newtonian laws. So when you take that away from them, you take what they think physics is away from them. That's the problem. Thanks.
I mean, I 100% agree, but it's still wrong.
Yeah. The laws of Newton were not right.
So when I removed the force holding my topic up on the table,
I'm destroying Newtonian physics.
Maybe next
Well,
Thursday
I thought-
sometime. I don't know. Could be a week, maybe more.
I thought the whole claim was that gravity was like an inertial resistance to Earth's movement. I thought that was where they were going with it.
I think they just need an answer for the disco partying gas that's at the Kármán line. So they need a force, and they haven't got one.
You can thank Anthony for Jedi mind tricking them into thinking that their claim was that the gravity holds gas pressure down. So thanks, Anthony. Appreciate that.
No, I leveled that at him, actually, Quantum Racer, as well. I was like, yeah, you're perpetuating this. Then I went out there and had a look, and now this isn't caused by Anthony. He might have addressed the fact that the trench-level fundies that don't understand their own rhetoric will punt that ad nausea. Likewise, people will say they see the curve of the Earth from a jetliner and things like that. It's just one of those things that's out there.
So he gave it a shot in the arm. It was a sleeve roller upper.
You want to have a go, I can tell. Anthony, this is all your fault.
I've had people assert that to me, though. Regular people that I've spoken to about this, they'll tell me when I ask them, how do you have gas pressure without a container? They'll say, oh, we got gravity. And then, of course, when you ask them what that is, they have no idea. But yeah, that's the first thing they say when they can't think of anything else.
And I do want you guys to remember that the pain, suffering, and loss of everything that I went through. I mean, that I never watched any of his videos, but Fight the Flat Earth dedicated a whole week to me just because of that quote. So remember it and use it regularly, because I went through fucking shitloads to get that quote.
Well, you started it.
Oh, I got your back, brother. Trust me.
Now, if I must say, I did learn in school that what keeps the atmosphere in is gravity. That's what I learned. That's what I believe until not long ago.
What's gravity?
Was that Ed? No way. Thank you very much for that.
I mean, but that's wrong, though. That shouldn't be their position.
Shocked that he affirmed it at all. I was taught that in school, so I believe gravity holds gas here. Wow.
Yeah, but he said.
I thought their claim.
No, but he said he was taught that in school, but he no longer believes it. Or that's what I thought I heard him say.
No, that's what he believes.
Guys, sorry, guys. It's George here.
Oh, I thought it was Ed. Sorry, George.
Ed.
No, but what I'm saying is this is at least on this side of the globe, I would say, on this side of the flat plane. That's what we learned at school. That it's the force of gravity. We believe in that bullshit.
Gents, I got to drop. I've got to take this little pooch out for a walk. He's like begging me. So I'll catch you guys later.
See you later, Sleeping Warrior.
Later.
He didn't get to find out our reaction to his question. Oh well. Maybe we'll come back and find out later.
Is he going to give us the
Nathan,
Latin?
do you remember?
John, one or the other.
Is he going to give us the Latin again?
What was wrong with that? I didn't see the problem with that.
I'm just asking. I didn't say anything just yet.
I think their claim is actually that if you took a cup, it sounds silly, but a cup in a vacuum moving fast enough will maintain a pressure within the cup. But the minute you invoke the fourth dimension, you're invoking a non-physical thing.
No, as soon as you invoke a vacuum, you're outside science. There are no vacuums in nature.
Well, no, my whole point is that, like, gas has a speed that it expands, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you accelerate past that speed, would the gas still escape the cup?
So if you were traveling at the speed of light and you turn your headlights on, what would happen?
Hold on. He's saying if you were flying along at the speed that a gas particle moves at.
I got an answer for John.
Go on.
You'd be lightheaded.
Just ask your question again. You're saying if you're travelling at the same speed as the gas, what's the next bit?
Right. How would the gas escape the cup?
It wouldn't.
There you go. There's Zanuck.
Oh, brother.
Cast the bait. The fish
Cast
will
the
bite.
bait. You know what he said? Not yesterday, day before yesterday, that high gas pressure to low gas pressure is not entropy. That's what he said.
What would it be then?
It'd be high pressure moving to low pressure. Newtonian forces, actually.
But
Newtonian force. No.
That's a description of the entropic force.
No, an entropic force is a statistical tendency for things to go from lower microstates to greater microstates.
Yeah, it's a little weird when that professor George was it George Porter?
That'd be high pressure to low pressure, though, wouldn't it?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Entropy is a measurement. It's a value. It's not a force.
Entropy
it's an observation.
measurement.
What happens after measure? Entropy doesn't cause anything to happen. It actually is just a report.
Like mass is a measurement.
No, he's right. Hold on. No, he's right. Yeah, okay. The entropic force, you can think of it as a force. It's just a description. You're right. And
you can think of it as a force, like George Moussa. You can think of it as a force, but it's not a force.
Exactly. It's just describing something. That's right. What's your point?
Yeah,
The point is, it's describing the gas's natural. Hold on, Zanuck. It's describing gas's natural tendency to move from high pressure to low pressure, or from heat to move from hot to cold. Things like that. It's describing that tendency that happens always, and the description of that process is always true in nature. That's why it's a law of nature. Entropy.
Entropy is not a law, though. We've already talked about.
Yeah, it is.
Entropy's not a law.
The second law.
What's the second law of thermodynamics, Zanuck?
It's a property of the second law of thermodynamics. It's not the law.
It's a property of it.
It's called. hold on. It's called the entropy law.
Only by someone in slang. In
slang.
In slang.
It's the entropy law.
What?
But it really isn't a law.
Zanuck, bro.
Sorry, hold on. But it really isn't a law.
It's not a law.
Sorry, the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy law, isn't a law, according to Zanuck.
All right, you ready
It's
for
a
this?
thermodynamic. It's a thermodynamic
Share my screen for this one,
differential
Nathan?
property of the second
Am I gonna
Zanuck's
have to
majoring on
share
the
my
minors
screen
right
for this
now.
one?
Yeah, go ahead, if you can.
Yeah, I can. 1 second. Let me know when it's up. So make sure we understand his claim that entropy is not the second law of thermodynamics.
No, it's a property of the second law.
Yeah, okay, we heard.
Hold on,
Okay,
no,
thank you.
that's not the bit I'm concerned with. The bit I'm concerned with is the bit that he says it's not a law.
For example,
Hold on.
Nathan, if you
hold on.
gas expansion,
Zanuck, you're saying it's not a law.
Go ahead.
You're saying it's not a law. I've already clarified this with you. So if you now say, no, that's not what I meant, we're going to have a problem because I've already clarified this. You're saying it's not a law.
No, entropy is not the law.
Thank you. From entropylaw.com, the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy law or law of entropy was formulated in the middle of the last century by Clausius and Thomson. Hyperphysics.com or .edu, second law, entropy. Second law of thermodynamics, in any cyclic process, the entropy will either increase or remain the same. From Science Direct, the second law of thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics introduces a new property called entropy, S, which is an extensive property of a system. From NASA, the second law states that there exists a useful state variable called entropy, S, From the University of Texas, second law. The second law of thermodynamics states that any process that happens spontaneously will lead to an increase in the entropy of the universe. And then finally at study.com, John Simmons, PhD physiology, second law of thermodynamics, law of entropy. You're done. Again.
Just one quick
Thank
question.
you.
What was the first citation? Where was the first citation from, please?
My citation?
Entropylaw.com.
It's from
The name of the
Entropy-
website debunks you, Zedek. That's ridiculous.
Entropylaw.com, talking about the second law of thermodynamics, aka the law of entropy.
That's not, well, okay. Let's put this on.
Let's just berate you, you dumb shit. This is a law of nature. This is a law. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. You are retarded. This is not your time to talk. This is your time to be told off. You stupid idiot. You're wrong. The law of entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics is the law of entropy. They are one and the same thing. It is a law. You are fundamentally retarded.
I never did get to make my
in all
secondary
these
point.
citations that basically it's a thermodynamic differential property of the second law,
Listen
not a law.
to this guy. He's delusional. You're a delusional Milli Vanilli. Get
Talk
out
to
of here.
any physicist; they'll agree with
You've
me.
been exposed.
Any
You're a dumbass.
Just because someone has a
You
website or a
are a
blog and calls it the entry
dumbass.
law doesn't mean it's true.
Demonstrated dumbass.
Sorry, hold on. He just said just because somebody's got a website doesn't mean that they're. One of the citations was NASA.
Oh, you trust NASA now? So now you trust NASA?
No, one of the citations. Do you not understand how a citation works, you stupid idiot?
It's called the hostile witness.
Yo, Zanik, do you not understand how citations work?
Huey says that gas.
Sorry, not QE says. I'm asking you a very specific question about how citations work. Does that mean that I don't trust or do trust NASA now? That's not how citations work.
It doesn't? Okay.
No. So you don't know how citations work. You're stupid.
I do. I understand how they work.
Oh, so if I cite NASA, that means that every single word uttered by NASA must be trusted by me, the person citing them.
Yep,
No.
that's what he thinks.
No. So why would you ask me if I trust NASA now? I'm pointing out that it's your witness, and your claim that just because it's cited on a website doesn't make it true. In this case, your priest NASA.
Rumpus said it's not a law.
So now we're going to talk about Rumpus. So first it was QE. You dumb shit. You don't know how citations work. That makes you thick. Number one. Number two, one of the citations that you're claiming we should just hold as invalid because you think the second law and entropy are somehow unrelated, different, or not a law, when we've smashed that into the middle of next week with a citation from one of your own priests, and your rebuttal to that is to somehow assume that a citation must mean I hold every word they say as true, meaning you do not understand how citations work, making you retarded, Zanik. Stupid, thick, an idiot. You hearing me, thicko? That's not how citations work. However, this citation that you've said is invalid because it's just come from some website is NASA, your priest.
No, there was another website that was quoted. But
I don't care about another website. I care about this website that you've said you're going to poo-poo because it's just some website. Is NASA your priest? Our hostile witness. Some website, dickhead.
I'll bring my own citation then.
So, are you going to address this, or are you going to constantly talk about QE, Rumpus, and now a different citation of your own? You fucking coward.
Told you entropy is a property.
Will that citation be from...
Hold on, Chocolate. You fucking coward. You have stated that it's just some website. I'm pointing out it's NASA. And I'm asking you, is NASA just some website? It's one of your priests. Are you poo-pooing NASA, your priest, or not?
I'm just poo-pooing that one statement. If you found that...
The one statement came from NASA. Are you poo-pooing NASA as just some website when it's your priest, or not?
Entropy is not a law.
Sorry, now you're segueing away from my question, you coward bitch. You're a fucking coward. Is NASA just some website, or do we take your priest's word in citation of what this law of nature, that would be entropy, is? Or is it just some website?
Gas expanding is...
Sorry, you're ignoring me, you fucking coward.
No, that's the initial topic.
I'm asking you specifically about your priest NASA and your poo-pooing of their citation that backed our claim that the law is entropy, something denied by you and smashed by us. And now you're behaving like a fucking coward. Is NASA just some website? That was your rebuttal.
Quality website, for sure. They made a mistake.
You made a mistake, so you're good. No, he's just
he
feeding
said
back.
they
He's
made
turned
a
his speakers right up now.
No, Nathan, he said they made a mistake. He didn't admit he made a mistake.
Yeah,
You think NASA? So you do think NASA's wrong? So NASA are wrong
on that statement? Yes.
So if NASA can be wrong about what entropy is, who's to say that they're right about what space is?
They're wrong about global warming too.
So they're wrong quite often then. So we can definitely lay it down that Zanuck is like us, definitely confirming that NASA just get it wrong.
They can get a lot of things wrong.
So why would it be that NASA are the same exact description of law of entropy / second law of thermodynamics as every other scientific citation that was given to you by QE? It's just that all of them are wrong, including your own priest NASA. Is that correct?
No.
No? So they're right. So not no. That would be yes. So they're all right then.
Find a university site that has that quote.
I'm asking about NASA.
NASA's wrong in that quote.
So NASA doesn't understand what the second law of thermodynamics / entropy is, even though they are absolutely in line with every other definition given here today. They're wrong, and every other definition is wrong, according to you, because you have been shown wrong. Every single citation ever demonstrating you to be wrong is actually what's wrong.
People sloppily claim...
NASA are sloppy now, are they? So this NASA citation's sloppy?
Well, that's a problem then, because they say they're sending rockets into a medium that doesn't exist, and they got entropy wrong. How can they calculate for anything?
Remember, the quantum racer said that gas expanding is entropy. So how does that...
So you poo-pooed this is just some website. It's NASA, and now you're saying NASA are wrong, and everyone else is wrong. So it's not. You just got no humility, Zanuck. This is the problem. It's not NASA that's wrong. It's not all of your citations that you've had read to you wrong. It's not our description of what entropy, being the second law of thermodynamics, is wrong. It's you that's wrong.
I'm not wrong here.
Yes, you are. You've just got no humility. Even when demonstrated to be incorrect by citations with arguments that are backed by people that affirm your religious belief, you still won't accept it. You'll say they're wrong too. You're just wrong. You're a moron.
You pick a physicist.
No, I'm picking you and your nonsense claim that second law and entropy aren't the same. They are. You're wrong.
It's a property of the second law. It's not the second.
Zanuck, QE quoted Zanuck. QE cited 3 universities that you asked for. You're just a law of nature denier. Just admit it.
Yeah, just a law of nature denier.
No, I deny sloppy definition.
No, they're all the same definition. They're all describing the second law of thermodynamics as the law of entropy. You just said it's just a property of it. It's not the same thing, even though there's a particular site dedicated by name to the law of entropy. But you're so stupid as to say that even this dedicated site with its name called the law of entropy site is also wrong. But you here are right. That's how arrogant you are.
And I'd like to call him out just a minute. He said it's sloppy definitions. What he's really meaning is if our definition doesn't match his definition, that's what's wrong. Because he has to say that when we define something, that he always says that's wrong, even though we actually go look it up, show it, define it. He says that definition is wrong. He does it all the time. So really, it's not about, he's denying definitions if it doesn't agree with his
property. It's a differential thermodynamic property
So not acknowledge the word you said, but it has been spewing his rhetoric over the top of you, just saying the same thing again, making his claim heard. Not acknowledging a smegging word.
So tell me, Nathan, if
So ask me a question.
You used
Why
to
don't you
come in
acknowledge that
here
you're wrong?
and you used to purport how much you knew about entropy. Like, it's come to this point that you've circled all the way back to arguing that entropy is not the second law. How long were you in here arguing that it was?
Never been the second
What's
law. It's
wrong?
been a
What's wrong
property
with
of
you,
the second
Zanuck?
law.
He's insane.
It's a
Zanuck, seriously, like, dude, I got at the risk of sounding like Pete Shea, are you like an agent or something? Because your tactics are beyond ridiculous. You
Okay,
can't be
think about
serious
it.
in here talking about now
I
that
want
entropy is not the
to
second
talk
law
about
when you've
what
been
happens
debating
with
us
air
for
pressure
I don't
next
know
to a
how
vacuum.
long about this freaking law. This is got to be a joke, Zanuck.
If
You are a
entropy is
joke.
air pressure moving from high to low, how is that true? When does the entropy go up? Does entropy always go up when gas expands?
Guy, the second law of thermodynamics is what?
The
Second law state that high heat moves.
The second law is a state.
No,
Zanuck,
it states high heat.
Property, let me read it. Property
can't read. I
implies,
can't hear.
hang on, let me read it. Property implies a characteristic that belongs to a thing's essential nature and may be used to describe a type or species.
Well, that's a dictionary definition. Yeah.
Well,
Talk
better
about
than yours that you make up
moving
on the
to low
fly.
heat, that all processes
law of
are
nature.
not 100%
You law of
efficient.
nature
That's what the
denier.
second law states.
You law
Entropy is
of
something different.
nature denier. I
Getting
could
rumpus
talk
by
over
10th
you
man,
too.
Sonic. Just accept
You
it.
law of nature denier. What a fool. You're a fool,
Heat
Zanuck.
travel high to
You're a
low.
fool,
It also
Zanuck.
talks about processes not being 100% efficient. That there's always losses
You're a
in the
fool.
universe.
Zanuck,
Hey,
I don't know.
That's what the
I'm
second
guys.
scrolling right now. I see Harvard University, Boston University, Live Science, all of them calling the second law of entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, entropy. Some of them call them the entropy law. Let's see, the three laws of thermodynamics, entropy. Yeah, it seems like that's what it is, Zanuck.
Huey, there was a
So what
quote.
is
Look,
Huey,
Zanuck
there
is
was a
smarter
quote
than the
that you
Harvard.
used with the
where
second
does
law of
entropy? How does entropy?
thermodynamics,
So
where the guy says,
if
be
it's a
quiet.
law, what
Zanuck,
happens?
be
Hold on.
quiet for a minute.
If it's a law, what happens
Huey,
when
can you read the
high
quote?
pressure moves to low pressure? What
Zanuck, be quiet.
and how is it?
Huey, can you please read the quote of the guy who
Anybody
says if
answer?
you fight thermodynamics,
Anybody in the
you're going to be in a
can
losing battle, please?
can anybody answer the question in the panel? What happens when high pressure moves to low pressure? What happens to entropy?
It's an
Your
entropy.
brain
You're
exploded when
describing
that
an
happened.
entropy increase. That's what you're describing. That's an entropy increase that you've just described.
No, it won't. It won't though. If that's the law, how come I can show you that it's not increasing in some situation?
What?
You're a moron.
You said it's a law.
Wow.
It can't be broken.
You're a
It
moron.
So if I
is
show
a
you,
law.
if I show
Just
you
because,
gas
sorry,
increase,
let's not do this. Let's not say just because I say it's a law. NASA say it's a law, you dumb shit. You're the only one who says it isn't, you dumb fuck. What part of you're wrong don't you understand? Don't start your argument with us based on a premise that this is something we believe in. Your own fucking priests state it. Just because you don't adhere to it, because it's violated when you think the sky is a sodding vacuum, doesn't mean it's one of our beliefs. Your own priests state this as fact. Okay?
Fine. So what happens? What's the law say if gas expands into a vacuum? Does entropy go up?
Hit him with George Porter.
Again, an entropy increase.
I can show you we're no entropy change at all
Hit
if
him with
gas
George
expands
Porter.
into it.
I put it in Master B and Ballbusters.
Thank you, Huey.
So if you have gas, if
Wow,
you're saying it's a
Zanuck.
law, then every time gas expands into a vacuum, there should be an increase in entropy.
Enlightenment, rather as Shakespeare and Beethoven might be quoted to represent the arts. Whilst the position of Shakespeare and Beethoven
Start at 8 minutes.
in our common culture might be said to be secure, and look at changes where only the entropy changes. Now, one simply expressed. Now let us look at some examples of spontaneous changes and see how they are accounted for in terms of the second law of thermodynamics. We'll take the simplest first and look at changes where only the entropy changes. Now, one, perhaps the simplest of all of these, is the expansion of a gas into a vacuum. I have in one of these bulbs some bromine, and in the other I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy.
Good night.
We all know that example.
Apparently you don't.
That's free. Oh yeah, I do. Free expansion of gas. We get free expansion. Think about that. That's an irreversible process.
I'm thinking about it. Free expansion. Free expansion. No cost. I'm thinking about it right now. You're a fucking moron.
It's not a law because I can show you where entropy does not go up when gas expands. If it's a law, then how come I can show you gas expand?
Would that be considered spontaneous?
Go on, hold on. He just wants us to ask him showing it. He's number one. You're not going to violate the law of entropy. That's the first thing.
I won't violate any laws.
You're breaking it. First and foremost, can you drop and rejoin because your signal's terrible.
Hold on a second.
George Porter did say spontaneously, right?
Sure.
Is that better?
Yes, that's much better.
Right.
What's your example? Go ahead.
So better when he was gone.
Well done.
What the professor showed was free expansion. That's called a irreversible process, where no work is done, gas expands in the chamber, the entropy goes up, temperature doesn't change, no energy exchange. We all know that one. He's shown that several times. That's
yeah, I compromised your dumb ass with that before. Yes.
No, hold on. Here's the punchline.
Hold
There's
on.
another process called a reversible process. Now, a reversible process is different. When the gas expands, it's actually doing work. And then the temperature goes down. So the entropy does not change in a reversible process. So how can gas expand into a vacuum, do work, and the entropy be zero? It's expanded, same exact
entropy
end states as you showed.
It's not zero. That's your IQ. You're getting it confused with your IQ.
That's precisely what was just demonstrated, Zanik.
Go ahead. I'm right. You're wrong. Trust me.
Sorry, why are you just asserting that you're right? We just showed it, literally 30 seconds ago. Like all the citations were read out, and you just ignored them too.
All you have to do is do a search for reversible process. My signature used to have.
He just showed you an entropy
the process
increase.
that we just saw and search for your stupid process.
Yeah,
that's what we should do.
That's what we should do. We should ignore all citations, even if they come from NASA, and we should ignore all demonstrations, because we should be searching out an affirmation of his claim, not demonstrations that prove him to be wrong, because all citations that prove him to be wrong are wrong.
No. Q over T. Change of Q over T is change in entropy. And if you have a reversible process, there is no change in entropy by definition. Go look it up. Don't trust me. Look it up yourself. It's everywhere on the internet. Just look up. Just type reversible process. You'll see entropy change.
Sorry, just type in reversible process. So what if I type in entropy and get to one of these citations that says it's the second law? Do we just ignore those and in favour of searching for reversible processes instead? What about if we search entropy and it describes it as second law, which is what you're saying it isn't?
We all know that they're intrinsically related. We absolutely know the entropy part of the second law.
Related, it's one and the same thing. The entropy law, second law of thermodynamics, mate. It's one and the same thing. Not related, not distant cousins. No. The same thing.
I see how quiet you are about zero change in entropy with gas expanding. I know you're a little perplexed on that one, but it's
perplexed. We just showed a demonstration of it happening.
What the hell?
Perplexed? No, we can demonstrate it. It's been demonstrated to university students for quite a long time. Not perplexing in the slightest. Entropy's actually quite well understood.
I told you gas expanding. with work being done is zero change in entropy.
Sorry, with zero work being done, what are you babbling on about? Other than the fact that there's been no change, i.e. the only change that was just demonstrated was a change that described in the second law of thermodynamics, i.e. the entropy law. That's all we've shown. Entropy increase, that's it.
It doesn't increase if there's work done.
There wasn't entropy.
So again, ignore the example that the professor displayed and just pay attention to your example.
Which he hasn't given. He hasn't shown us anything at all, or cited anything whatsoever. He's just told us that all citations that have been shown are all wrong. And then when we say things like this, he talks through us so that the audience can hear him talking and telling the audience that... Why are you interrupting me, Zanik?
He hasn't shut up yet.
Yeah, I know. So, every citation's wrong, and the demonstration given by a university professor, that's also wrong, and the citations that we haven't been shown or given by Zanik, we should pay attention to them, not that we've had any, and the demonstrations that we should go and find out for him, we should pay attention to those, even though we haven't been given them by him, and he's telling us to go and get them for him with his ham-handed burden of proof reversal fallacy. It's pathetic, he's just wrong.
No, I'm not. Look up reversible process.
Why? When we're talking about second law of thermodynamics being entropy law, which it is.
It's not, but that's okay.
Hey, it is, as per every single citation shown here.
He's out of his mind, man.
The second law say, what is the primary? If you look up second law, it talks about the direction.
You're trying to, Zanik, you know, this is called the okie doke, right? You're trying to do the okie doke right now, right? You're trying to tell us, don't pay attention to what we just talked about. Let's pay attention to something you haven't even demonstrated yet.
Chocolate. Yeah. Chocolate. How can you have chocolate? How can you have a law?
He's just going to go on and on and on and on.
Chocolate. Can I talk to you, Chocolate?
Nathan and Kiwi are wrong.
You don't want to listen to me? Okay, fine.
That's what he's paid to do.
Chocolate. How do you have gas expanding?
I'm losing respect
and no
for you because we've been arguing about the second law of thermodynamics for how long, and now you're literally your argument is
he started to get a response from him. Even when he got a response
ridiculous.
to Chocolate started talking. He was getting a response, and then mid-sentence he said, "I'm asking you," interrupting him. So he's only here now at this point to obfuscate. He's not here to have any discussions. He's only here to shut down communications from this point. Shutting down communications, are you? And now you're shutting down me telling the audience that you're shutting down communications by talking through that as well. You seem to be getting a response from Chocolate, and now you're interrupting me. Now you're shutting down my communication.
Sorry.
Yeah, Zanik?
I'm apologizing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't need you to apologise. I need to finish my sentence. I don't need you to interrupt mid-sentence with your apology. I need to point out that while Chocolate was responding, you talked. And while I was talking, you talked. And while QE was talking, you talked. Neil was trying to point out that you've done nothing but shut down Discord communications. Now I'm going to ask Neil. I know Zanik will reply anyway. What's been going on? And we'll see what happens. Neil, what's been going on in Discord?
Zanik's got verbal diarrhea.
So he's not actually listening or responding to anything anybody says to him at all because he can't hear it because he's constantly talking, correct?
Nope, just his rhetoric. Just keeps
I'm
talking.
listening.
Now he's interrupting Neil.
You ain't listening
Now he's
if you're
interrupting Neil.
talking.
Try again, Neil. Let's see if Zanik can stop his maybe it's work, shutting down communications. Maybe he can stop doing that for a little bit and let you talk. Go on, Neil.
Zanik has not shut up for more than a second.
Can I ask a
Talking
question?
to everybody.
Yes, go ahead, Chocolate. Now we've got Zanik clicking his mic, making little noises. Now he's trying to shut down communication with his other little trick. Zanik, why are you clicking and making noises when I've just given Chocolate the mic?
What are we doing? Wait, he still wants to talk to me? I want him to acknowledge that freaking second law of thermodynamics. What are we doing?
Chocolate. Someone else wanted to say something. Nathan thought it was you. So whoever it was, please.
Oh, no, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay. So I can ask a quick one?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Wasn't the second law derived from heat engines that were man-made?
You'll have to repeat that. Say that once more.
Was the second law discovered with heat engines that were man-made?
Discovered with fleet engines.
No, heat engines.
Heat engines. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really sorry. I don't know.
I mean, the second law wasn't it the guy who found it or derived it was working with heat engines that were not natural?
If you say so, I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's something I've picked up.
Is
It's
it a
funny you
natural
call it
law?
the second law. Yeah, me and
Is-
I'm thinking the same thing.
Is it does it apply to everything? And is it the second law shown through heat engines, but it applies to everything else? Are you saying it doesn't?
Oh, I don't know. I'm no expert in it. It's just
I know my
something
coffee gets cold really quick.
That,
Yeah, it
that
does.
sounds like a heat engine. Hey, I'm just looking up what Zanuck has said to look up reverse process. And I'm finding the word ideal a lot in here. I don't think this is a real thing.
Well, hold on. You remember the example that Quantum showed? It's strictly about an isolated system and ideal gases. So when the entropy goes up, they talk about that being ideal.
So that
talking-
glass tube that he was using to demonstrate was an isolated system. Is that what you're saying, Zanuck?
No, but
Thank you, Chocolate.
in the
Did
process,
you say no? Hold on. Did you say no? It's not an isolated system in contradiction
No.
of what you said last time you were here.
but the actual in physics that is regarding to an isolated.
You're just breaking up.
So it's an
Anyway,
ideal
the-
system that doesn't exist. Is the example, Zanuck, right?
They're both regarding ideal gases, except for my example. It doesn't.
No,
have
no,
to do
no,
with
no,
the-
no, 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 no. That's not correct. So this example that he gave, he wasn't using an ideal gas. He was using bromine. You're wrong.
And
No, but
he wasn't using an
read
isolated
in-
system either.
Just see if he acknowledges
Zanuck.
it. Hold on, Chocolate. That's incorrect, Zanuck.
Yes, the example is using bromine.
So
And
not.
was in a glass
So let's
container,
just get
so
it clear.
wasn't-
Your rebuttal was that it's only applicable to ideal gases. No. Demonstrated.
It says in the physics.
So he's not going to let me. Communication shutting down time. I'll try again. Let's see how well I get on this time. Second attempt. You asserted that as a rebuttal, this is only applicable to ideal gases. Now that was because you've given somebody the challenge of going and looking something up in terms of reversible processes, and the criticism is that it's only applicable in all of the citations that's been found so far to ideal circumstances. Now, we've demonstrated that this second law of thermodynamics, applicable in nature always, isn't only applicable to ideal gases. It's been demonstrated with bromine. You're wrong, Zanuck.
No, they didn't demonstrate it with bromine.
Oh, did they not? Let's just play it for the audience again.
Simply expressed. Now let us look at some examples of spontaneous changes and see how they are accounted for in terms of the second law of thermodynamics.
Let's just break it down. It's being accounted for in terms of the second law of thermodynamics. You with him so far?
Yep, got it.
Excellent.
We'll take the simplest first and look at changes where only the entropy changes. Now,
so he's talking about entropy. Second law.
How does he assure that no...
Why are you asking what he's saying? You're not acknowledging that this annihilates that which you claim is wrong, and will go on to also demonstrate you wrong in terms of this being only applicable to ideal gases. You're just wrong, Zanuck. Now, I know this will be painful for a fundy with a belief in a sky vacuum, because this natural law demonstrated here with bromine, not an ideal gas, smashes your religion of space.
So, Nathan, how do you...
Perhaps the simplest of all of these is the expansion of a gas.
He's not allowed. He's
into
going
a
to try and
vacuum.
shut down communications of a bloody video now.
In one of these bulbs, some bromine, and in the other, I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two...
So we've got gas, bromine, representative of not an ideal gas, it's real, it's on screen. Shockingly, he's actually got it in his hand. Yeah? And that's representative of gas, right? At high pressure.
Yeah.
Now, this bulb over here, though, that's representative of a vacuum, Zanuck. Yeah? And what the gas does is it fills the vacuum by way of an entropy increase, as described in this law of nature called the second law
Not
of
by way of
thermodynamics.
an entropy increase. It expands, and then you measure the entropy afterward. Entropy doesn't cause it to expand.
No, it's describing what happened. The process that's about to be shown is described as an entropy increase.
You will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy.
Fully agree.
Oh, well, excellent.
Thanks.
That's brilliant. Oh, well, I'm glad we got there in the end.
I think I'm onto his trick. I'm on a site called Chemistry Libertex, and it says entropy changes in reversible processes. And let me just read the first thing. A reversible process is one carried out in, and here's the key word, infinitesimal steps, after which, when undone, both the system and surroundings, now in parentheses, that is, the world, remain unchanged. See the example of gas expansion compression below. And here's the whopper, Zanuck. Although true reversible change cannot be realized in practice, it can always be approximated. So infinitesimal, because you messed around with the control variables of your test, but it's not reality? Are you kidding me?
You just didn't read what you read.
I'll
Infinitesimal
post
changes
it,
are
you
just
idiot.
small changes. They're small, they're
I'll
partial
post it.
differentials. They're small changes. And at the end
Yeah,
of this
you just
process,
slowed
all you
it
have to do is
down.
have, listen, all you have to do is have the expansion do work. If there's work done, the entropy doesn't change. In fact, it can actually go down.
Who cares? We're talking about entropy change.
Yeah, change.
Right.
So
But
who
if
cares
entropy-
about your entropy not changing? We're follow what we're talking about and the example that was just played for you. Zanuck, what the hell is wrong with you? Seriously.
Chocolate, please, let me finish my sentence. If entropy is a law, then how can gas expand?
Did you just say
it
entropy is a law?
You said it's a law. I said if it's a law.
It is a law. I dealt with this earlier. It's not something we're saying. It's not something we believe. Entropy is a law of nature.
No, it's a property of the second law.
So we're talking about laws of nature then. So gas will expand to fill the available volume by way of an entropy increase. That's how you describe that process, which is applicable always in nature.
No, but if you have gas...
What do you mean no? Not no, law of nature.
I'm telling you, the law of nature is not broken, so...
Yeah, so therefore gas will expand at high speeds in all directions to fill the available volume it has to fill. That's what entropy increase is.
I'm trying to help you understand physics, Nate.
It's not understanding physics, it's understanding entropy. It's a law of nature. So we're not talking about experimentation, we're talking about just describing how things are.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're not talking about physics. It's just a fundamental law of nature.
The law states specifically that high heat moves to low heat. That's the...
Yeah, high pressure to low pressure. Yeah, so the gas we're breathing, high pressure, would move to the low pressure of space if the sky was a vacuum.
Not... That's free expansion.
You just say the law states? What law?
How can it be free expansion, Nathan, if air has weight?
It doesn't have weight. Air has pressure. You know, you're equivocating between pressure and weight. A downward vector it does not have. It moves at high speeds in all directions. Weight would be a downward vector.
Mostly down.
Not mostly down. In all directions.
There it is.
Mostly down.
Where's Arwen? Oh,
Is this really what you're going to toe now?
Yes. It's mostly down. It's not in all directions. It's not free expansion.
That's wrong. Gas expanded in all directions. When he opens the valve, it didn't go mostly down.
Didn't you hear
Sorry, are you not listening to me? Are you scared? Coward? I just
not at all
rebutted what you just said. So now you're going to talk through it again? Going to talk through it again? Coward? So when he opened the valve, the gas did not go mostly down. You are wrong again.
That was called free expansion.
Sorry, when the gas went into the other container, which had a vacuum in it, It didn't go mostly down.
Free expansion, Nathan.
Sorry, so it didn't go mostly down.
Not in that case.
So it didn't do what you have just claimed then. In the only example given, it violates that which you have claimed. You are now talking through me because you're getting annihilated. You are wrong, Zanik. In the only example demonstrated here, it didn't do what you claimed.
Oh yeah, it did.
Oh yeah, what it did? Do you need me to show it again, you stupid idiot?
You can't measure this.
Sorry, now it's about something I can't do. So you're wrong again.
Really?
Yes, it didn't go mostly down, you stupid idiot.
Oh, how did they measure it?
Sorry, I showed it. It's just been on screen. You've seen it multiple times. It didn't go mostly down. You've even conceded it only to then whistle past it.
If you were able to measure it, you would see it was mostly down.
Sorry, that's not what it did. It didn't dribble into the bottom of the vial. It filled the available volume.
Mostly down. If you have
No, it didn't go mostly down. I've actually got to put it on screen again, haven't I? No, let's have a look. Let's see if it did go mostly down. Maybe I missed something. Let's have a little
Mostly
look.
down, go boom boom, go splash splash.
Mostly down. Let's have a little look, shall we? Did it go mostly down? Maybe I wasn't observing it closely enough. Here we go. So he's picking up the vials. One's got a vacuum in it. Okay. Let's see. Does it go mostly down? No, it filled it. It just filled it.
Hey, Nathan, please go to Master B and look at the last screenshot. It is over for Zanik.
Hey, I've got it up. Do you want to read it? This is reversible change.
Definition, reversible changes. A reversible change is one carried out in such a way that, when undone, both the system and surroundings...
Oh, shut up, Zanik.
My goodness. Both the system and surroundings, that is the world, remain unchanged. And here's the killer, Zanik. It should go without saying, of course, that any process that proceeds in infinitesimal steps would take infinitely long to occur. So thermodynamic reversibility is an idealization that is never achieved in real processes, except when the system is already at equilibrium, in which case no change will occur anyway. So why is the concept of reversible process so important? And you go to the site and finish up the rest of the pseudo talk. Sound like you're buried.
Yeah, that's it. Stick a fork in him. He's done. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Nathan Oakley Premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!